Started off like this. Okay, so yesterday was really, really cool, actually. I wanted to share. Well, first off, Troy, how about you read us off what we should all need to know, or what we all do need to know every single
I,
day as far as the responsibilities that we have? Go ahead, Pop.
I got you, brother. I am an American. I am American is a challenge to the highest ideals and aspirations of mankind to self-sacrifice and devotion, to loyalty and patriotism, to joyful work and courageous achievements, to magnanimity and charity to all, and malice to none, as we seek to uphold and perpetuate the principles of our great republic. Yeah, I'm an
Yeah,
American.
I'm an American. Everybody else, I want y'all to sit here and say, I'm an American. Unmute and say, I'm an American.
I'm an American.
I'm an
I'm an
American.
American.
I'm
American.
American.
I'm an American.
I'm an American.
I'm an
I'm
American.
American.
That's
Right
right,
on,
April. I hear you
patriot.
back there, April. I hear you back there, Mama. Yeah, you came through loud and clear. I heard you now. Okay. So what we're gonna do just real quick before getting started with our special guest, I'm not gonna do the intros yet, is yesterday we had my boy, was it yesterday? No, day before yesterday, my boy Russell Hess called me up. This dude here, he was like, Cameron, I got the best one ever. I said, no, you don't, bro. He's like, yes, I do. And we're suing. I said, all right, cool. So yesterday we hosted him and his interaction. And I just wanted to give one part in which I think was the best because the support of our of everybody on the live chat, like the live chat wasn't showing up till this morning, and I thought I didn't enable it. And then I saw it this morning, and I was like, yes, thank God, because I really wanted everybody to see just the reaction on the live chat if they didn't. But oh wait, I don't think it's. I gotta do stop, and then I have to do share, and then I have to do share sound optimize, and then it's that one share like that, right? And then I get this one. Yes. Okay. Boom. Okay. Boom.
Not operating in commerce.
Sir,
It does
you're
matter.
driving a vehicle in the state of Texas.
I am not driving. I am traveling. I'm not
You're
a
traveling
driver.
on a public roadway.
And listen, I'm not going to debate on the side of the road with you. If you want to arrest me, arrest me.
Hell yeah.
Whatever you want to do. I'm not being combative. I'm not being belligerent.
No, sir, you're
I'm
not.
being as respectful as I can be.
Yes, sir, I understand that.
But I
You're
know,
respectful.
but I know my rights,
Okay.
and I know what operating in commerce is. Everything is in commerce. As you can see on the side of my truck, I have a remedy for commerce.
Okay.
Okay, UCC 1-08 without prejudice. That's the remedy. That means you can't compel me to perform under any contract that I didn't enter into willingly, knowingly, or voluntarily.
Go fucking get him, Russ. Oh my God, I want the chat blown up. I want the chat blown up right now for Russ. Blow the chat up for Russ. Oh my. Look, everybody blows the chat up, bro. Look at this shit. Look at this shit, bro. Watch, they're about to blow it up, bro. They blew the chat up for my boy Russ. They blew it up for Russ. They blew it up for Russ, bro. Oh my God, Russ! Oh! Blow the chat up! Oh my God! They blew the chat up for Russ, bro. I think this is like the first. I think this is the first blow up for somebody in the chat like this. So it's pretty hype yesterday. And this was only part one, so we're gonna go into part two probably tomorrow. I'll probably drop it, do a quick live because it's only another 15 minutes. But yeah, it's really, really hype yesterday. They blew up the chat for my boy. He literally has on the side. How do I take this off? Stop screen share. He literally has on the side of his car, on his door, UCC 1-308. He's like, that's my remedy. And they're looking on the door, reading it like Russ is fully set. Like he's he's perfectly set up. So I thought that was really, really cool. I wanted to give a couple shout outs to everybody. What's up, Lena? What's up, Tim? What's up, Lynn? What's up, Bob? Who else we got off in this thing? We got a lot of people off in here. Trina, Chris, Sako. Is that, I say it right? Sako? Sako? Okay. Brian, I see you in this thing. What's up, Tyler? What's up, Alira? What's up, Kevin Dirk? Phil, I see you in this thing. We got a lot of people. If y'all want to come up on camera, what's up, Ty? If y'all want to come up on camera, we like to see faces. We like to say hello. What's up, Quentin? What's up, Rob? Yeah, we like to see all of our people and all y'all's lovely faces, and we're so happy that y'all are with us here today. Yo, today's gonna be a really special one. What's up, James? I met this guy at the event, the most sovereignest citizen of the land event, and someone came up to me. I think it was Joe, and Joe was like, "Hey, man, I'm staying with this guy, and this guy's a beast, and he's doing some amazing stuff." I was like, "Okay, what's he doing?" And I think at that time he said, "Yeah, he's pulling everything into common law court." And I was like, "Oh, nice. What's up, Layla?" And I was just like, "Well, we need to get him on ASAP." And then when I finally spoke with him, I was just like, "Oh, you're a genius. You're one of those guys that just stays in the background and really doesn't do too much." And kind of like me, I guess. I'm kind of
Hey,
new as far as public speaking is concerned. But yeah, we're going to be bringing Kevin on today. We're going to be going over quite a few different things. Kevin, why don't you come up and say hello and introduce yourself, and yeah, just give a quick little background to everybody. You're
you're
muted.
muted.
You're muted.
Can you hear me now? Yep. All right,
Good.
good. So, hello everyone. Um, my name's Kevin Close. I've been headed down this path for about 5 years, but I'll give a little background on me, just so everybody knows I'm a normal guy. So, I don't have anything to do with any of their jurisdictions. So, um, I grew up Pennsylvania in Bald Hills, Pennsylvania, and went to Catholic school, Cradle Catholic. I do not claim that status any longer, but um, I am what I am, so to speak, a seat of consciousness, creator of the creator that creates, um, and that is kind of how I approach law. My background from school, industrial design engineering, um, went to work for the old RCA, Radio Corporation of America, color picture tubes, out of college. Did automation design and then infrastructure, large plant moves. So moving plants to Mexico, China, that sort of thing. Then went from there to Ames True Temper, Ames Lawn and Garden Tools. Just about everybody probably in their time frame has had one of those lawn and garden tools in their shed to do work around their house. So I went from a company that produced the biggest waste of time in our lives, making televisions, to something very hands-on and constructive, which was lawn and garden tools. And did that for over 10 years. I was a program manager, again, moving plants. I became the axe man. People saw me coming in their plant. They were worried that it was going to get closed and moved. So not a good MO to have, but and then took over the engineering and process development for Ames True Temper for about 7 years. And then a little over 10 years ago, I moved to a private company, family owned, also engineering focused, and it's hydraulic engineering. And I act as the VP of sales for this hydraulic engineering company operating out of York, Pennsylvania. And I still do design work for customers, but I get to travel to all kinds of different customers now. So a lot of my life is on the road, and I have about 10 application sales engineers that report to me up and down the East Coast, and we have a good time getting to see all kinds of different stuff every day and how things are made. So I get to live the how things are made kind of on a regular basis, which is cool.
That actually sounds
Um,
really fun.
yeah,
Yeah, like there's always something new popping up all the time.
yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah,
Um,
I couldn't live a stagnant life to where it was just the same redundant thing over and over and over. Like,
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
yeah.
So it's, whenever we did the question at Austin, who has the job with the man, kind of thing, and I'm like, I don't. I work for compensation. I have a compensation agreement. I don't pay taxes. I make my own schedule. I travel all the time, and make a lot of money for the owner. And he and I are good friends. So I don't. I was like, I can't raise my hand for that one. I can't raise my hand for, my own business. I don't know.
I'm
I'm in
trying to find
between.
out where you're at so I can engage it a little more.
Yeah. I don't know. I'll just sit here with my hand down. But about 2016, my wife and I decided we were going to start our own business. So she had a business with her parents. She did medical billing for years, and due to Obamacare, the reimbursement rate starting in 2009 went down between 12 and 14% year over year for both doctors and for all the administrative help, because that started to get consolidated with the insurance companies and big corporate. So by 2015 in November, she had to shut down that business. And in January of 2016, we opened a couple of corporations, LLCs, and we love to go to wineries and stuff. And one of our wine weekend trips, we went into a distillery, and I had been asking her what she wanted to do for the rest of her life when she grows up. And she decided that that's what she wanted to do. Her family is Russian. She's a first generation Russian born in the U.S. And she's actually now the only one left of her family. Her brother passed away recently. Both her parents passed away. But at the time, her dad was still living with us, and we decided to open a distillery. So I actually, while doing the day work, also spent the nights putting together the business plan, then designing the distillery. I physically built all the infrastructure and installation, and I also built out the tasting room and the kitchen for her. And when I mean I did it, I didn't hire anybody. I did it. The only thing that I had a buddy that was in construction that did the main construction part for the building, but I physically did all of the process work due to my background with large plants, infrastructure, automation. That was all done myself. So in any event, the problem is we opened up in September of 2018. Within a couple of months, they closed the main road intersection into the industrial park we were at. And so people had to find how to get there right after you open. That was challenging. And then they finally opened that up a year later, and we made it through that. And within, I think it was 2 months, they closed the main exit off the interstate, which is right there.
That's crazy.
Yep. And that lasted until COVID started, and then COVID hit. So we were dealt a lot of challenging scenarios. Now, I did have some good investors, friends of mine that were participants from my years in corporate life, but coming out of COVID, it was still a little tough, and we were trying to see what we were going to do, or if we were going to close or not. And so at this point, we're now talking about 2021, and my daughter had started to make her name for herself. She was our head distiller, master distiller. Taught her everything she knows, and she was starting to be approached by others and trying to poach her. And so she ran into these guys that tried to poach her, and they wanted to start their own rum company. And she declined them because of the family business, but said she'd be happy to do contract distilling for them.
Okay.
And so we developed some recipes, her and I, and got to what they wanted, and they kind of hit the ground running. And then throughout that process, because we were still challenged because of trying to play catch up from 3 years of all these unfortunate coincidences relative to our location. And by the way, everything happens for a reason. So
Yeah.
we ended up going from contract distilling for them to rearranging the partnership. A lot of the other guys wanted to get out because they didn't want to put the money into the marketing that they knew was necessary, and they felt that maybe these guys had the connections to do that. Let's fast forward now. It would be March of 2022.
Okay.
We finalized the agreement. We maintained a level of ownership. They had primary ownership, but we were still board members. Now, here's the key in all of this. I had started doing I started looking into the Annabon Right stuff, and American National, etc. I'm one of those trust but verify, because I treat all the people that work with me the same way. And so I was trying to understand her approach. I ended up proving that 90-some% of what she presents is dead on correct.
That's good.
For everybody that wonders about her, yeah, she's terrible doing references, but she's she's been working at this for 40 plus years, and her history, her document verification, all that stuff is actually very, very accurate. So for who anybody was wondering, the challenge with the American assemblies is the people that get into positions unelected that are control nuts. And that was kind of what Brandon was alluding to, all the infighting and stuff. It's crazy how much people want to control something,
Yeah.
which I have no interest in whatsoever. I just want to help people out. I have no interest in being in charge, and yet people keep
Facts.
asking me.
And that's kind of how everybody is here too. We just are freely open and transparent, giving away. Like everybody's just trying to build upon each other to just bring that on into our future generations. Not only just for themselves, but they recognize, again, like Troy just read, that we actually do have a duty, and that duty is to look out for each other. And that's what's beautiful about what we're doing here. But
Yeah, no, that's great. That's exactly right. That's why it was kind of felt like a kinship right away. This past event in Austin, it was finally the group that people that had the same mindset, even if everybody didn't understand a lot of the details, they all had the same heart in mind. So it's quite awesome. And Cam, I think we had told you at the event that Vicky and I were reading your book on the way down. For her, it was to avoid the thunderstorms and thinking about them. For me, I was driving, so she filled in the time. But yeah,
wait.
we're like,
Was you really driving though, or was you traveling?
I was traveling.
Okay, yeah, just wanted to get clarification on
Yeah,
that.
no, appreciate that. Yeah. So, I was like, okay, he's got the same mindset. He understands who I am, and it was very positive going into the event, having that kind of mindset and the timing of your book. I know everybody didn't get to read it before getting there, but it was pretty cool. So, needless to say, I started down that path with the Anna von Wright stuff, and I was preparing my paperwork, and I was trying to understand what it all meant, and so I was researching it. I'm not one of those that fills stuff out just because. I do contracts every day, so I read everything, and it may take me a while to understand what I'm looking at. So like I said, I was verifying her stuff. In May of 2022, we filed all of our paperwork and publicly recorded it, did all that stuff. So I already had on file then, as of May, a deed of reconveyance, a certificate of assumed name, transfer of name, cancellation of all prior powers of attorney, declaration of status, all those key evidentiary documents to validate and take control of your name. And this follows under lawful copyright and trademark law. So I knew enough at that point that I at least had an evidence thing if I ever needed it. I didn't think I'd ever need it for anything. I was just going to slowly go through the process and get into the private at my own pace. And in a very short period of time, I also decided to donate to participate in the Sovereign's Way Knowledge Share, which if anybody hasn't done it, I highly encourage them to take a look at it, at least consider it, because it really helps set your
You said it's the
mental
Sovereign's
mindset.
Way Knowledge Share?
Yep. So thesovereignsway.com.
Okay,
So
Sovereign's Way. The sovereignsway.com, you said?
that is correct. It's not inexpensive, and it's like $700 some or something like that. I don't know what it is right now. I have permanent membership to it. It's private membership. You donate, untaxable, all that good stuff. And let's just say I started creating my own stuff out of that because everything really started to fall in line. Coincidentally, that same year, we decided to get out of our timeshare. So I started down the process of, notifying them within the time frame, and you have to do all these steps for them to get out of it. And we actually had a deeded timeshare that, by the way, they were never able to produce.
Okay.
And they started to procrastinate, and then they said, "Oh, well, it's too late now. You'll have to wait till next year. Now you're behind. Now you'll have to pay." And I was like, "Whoa, time out. I have all of this reference for me contacting you." So I had just finished the Sovereign's Way. I started writing notices. 2 weeks later, we get a email with a letter from the attorneys for these guys that we partnered with, accusing us of embezzlement and misappropriation of funds. And
Oh,
they
it's
were
because they don't understand. They're so lost in the sauce, they just start saying it's fraud.
So again, you could say all this is coincidental based on my timing of learning and doing my own research,
Yeah.
that these things happen. But like I said, I think they happen for a reason.
Right.
I believe that. And if your heart is open and you're asking the creator what the purpose is, what I'm supposed to learn, what I'm supposed to contribute, it comes. Not necessarily how you want it, but it comes.
Yeah, and that's true. And then also, that's really important that you just say that too, because everything is about your intent, right? That's
Correct.
the actus rea and the mens rea, right?
Yeah,
We all
the
know
karma
those
associated
terms
with it.
now. Yeah, it's like you have to have a guilty mind with a guilty act. Both must be combined together to actually have such a body of crime, if there was one to exist even in the first place.
Bingo.
So that's what's really important, is that intent aspect. A lot of times they got one side of the coin, but they ain't got the other side. Well, that's
Yep.
not complete then. So what you got? Nothing. And they usually fall on their face. But continue, please. Yeah.
Yeah. So with that in mind, I'll back up a little bit. So about, I want to say a month and a half prior to that, they started talking about the numbers relative to what the business was bringing in, the restaurant and the distillery, et cetera. Now, all they cared about, keep in mind, is the distillery side. They wanted their rum. So with that in mind, they prior to the sale, one of the guys, I'll call it independently wealthy, but I also believe he probably got his wealth out of fraud, now that I know how he operates with his lawyers. He took over a bunch of dental practices. He's a dentist, and he pretty much doesn't work. And all he does is rake in the revenues from like 60 or 70 some practices. And he started spending money on marketing to start marketing his product, which we were making for him, which became our product, prior to the sale being done. So to put things in perspective, the very first board meeting after the sale, he brought a list of like $1.4 million that he wanted the new company to shoulder and pay him back. And needless to say, I asked a bunch of questions. I didn't say yes or no. I wanted a complete accounting report out, and I requested for a tabling of the decision. And let's just say that continued on throughout the time frame that this occurred. They were supposed to provide their accountant to start taking over accounting. They cut us out of and canceled all of the previous accounting systems that we had, which we took care of every day on our own. Now they were bringing help, which is great because we needed lots of help. But we were still doing the day to day. The important other detail, when we did the contract between our LLC and their LLC, creating LLC number 3. So to make this easier, we'll say we had company B, they had company A, and we made company C. All right, so company C was a combination of company A and company B. We, as undersigned, signed that agreement as, and this is an important distinction, a man can only contract an entity with another entity, and a man on the other side can only agree to contract his entity with another entity. So that's an important mental note for people. So whenever you're contracting as an entity, there has to be another entity in order to contract with. Otherwise, a man can contract with a man, but a man cannot contract with an entity.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
So important distinction.
Yeah.
And so I just kind of logically knew that just out of my own experience, and was contracting one business with the other. We took no executive position within company C. We also did no employment agreements within company C.
Okay.
So there's something else we'll go over probably later today, because people will probably ask, but there's the restatement of agency. That's a tort and common law. It revolves around a series of maxims. You have it for restatement of contracts, you have it for restatement of agency, you have it for restatement of, there's a bunch of them. But anyway, those are what you can use for common law. But in any event, the highest fiduciary duty was owed to those that have no agency within the company, but may be either owners or members.
Okay.
Okay, so contract law here.
Right.
So the highest fiduciary duty was actually owed to Vicky and I because we weren't executives. So we did not give up a position to have a responsible agency to the owners.
Okay.
We did not have an employment contract diminishing our status by title to
Okay.
something less than, which would be a lower agency position. And by the way, I have a huge document on this as well, and I can share it with everybody how agency works.
Okay.
And it's something that people want to think about whenever they're contracting, I guess is my point.
Yeah.
And as a result, we were volunteering our time trying to make the company work as people who own the company. And I'll say it that way. So we were mankind who owned. We technically I try to get away from titles. So being an owner, something that Brandon's still trying to figure out, that's still a fictitious entity. It's
Right.
still part of the corporate sole arrangement. That's why in statutory law, owner, as defined also in Black's Law Dictionary, is directly related to the corporate sole. It's still a fictitious entity. It's a title. It's an action thing. So whenever you look at contracts, how they're written, they always convert everything to this other entity that now they have a statutory control over. So if you ever look at the very beginning of how a contract is written, you'll see a restatement of
Yeah.
now called parties, now called company A, now whatever. They're creating a action thing that is not a noun anymore and is something that can be controlled. So
You've really broken it down to that? That's cool too. It's like, oh, that becomes a thing in and of itself. That's
an action
actually
thing.
an action thing. Mm.
Yeah. So every one of those, even if you look in Black's Law Dictionary, every one of those actually ends up in the definition kind of being an action. But you're reading it thinking it's a noun, but the reality is it's talking about some sort of responsibility or action associated with it. So
Ooh.
if you start looking at the David Miller method and you start breaking down the sentences, they're all gibberish because they're all combinations of adverb verbs and or adjective pronoun or some combination thereof. So it's a whole bunch of little snippet phrases thrown together that mean nothing, and
So
they're all run on sentence.
you're talking about now more of the syntax.
Yes, it's parse
Yeah.
syntax. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
So
Keep, keep it going. You're good.
yep.
Yeah.
So with all that in mind, they then had made their accusation from the wrong position to get go because we were owed the highest fiduciary. So now let's get into UCC a little bit and negotiable instruments. They were accusing us of stealing money, right? So
Yeah.
first of all, we didn't have any money. All we had is negotiable instruments because there is no lawful money. Number
Right.
one.
Yeah.
Number two, they made an accusation of $15,000 worth of theft. This has started about a month and a half before this letter that I talked to you about. And was in one of the board meetings where they said, where one of the guys made mention that, well, it's really easy for the owner, the person running the restaurant to steal the money. And I stopped. And I went, what? Are you accusing somebody of stealing money? Well, they have this new accountant now, this operations manager who's supposed to be doing the accounting. Turns out she didn't know what the hell she was doing. She short reported the total amount of revenue by like $38,000 up to that point for 5.5 months.
Jeez.
And she couldn't figure it out. Well, she also didn't spend the time to ask any really good questions. She showed up once and everything else was email. And then she reported out with a balance sheet that had no backup, no Excel sheet. It was just a PDF.
Okay.
It was requested multiple times for the backup. To this day, it's never come. So now you're starting to see there might be a racketeering practice going on, maybe. I don't know. But anyway, so they decided to shut the restaurant down based on this false accounting. Well, just a little background for everybody. That killed my wife. That was her life. She loved the restaurant. She acted as the chef. She did all of the planning. We had a farm to table restaurant. The menu rotated weekly. Turns out it was the only piece that was actually making money. It was doing a little better and breaking even, but it was holding its own. Keeping in mind, we weren't paying ourselves. Now, Vicky did start getting compensated the last 6 weeks before this letter from their attorney making the false accusations. However, up to that point, you know, she lived there. She was there by between 7 and 8 every morning. She was there till 11 o'clock at night, long days. You know, the restaurant business kills you. And she was devastated when they kind of forced the close of the restaurant. Turns out it was all based on false reporting. So we got a lot of fraud now. It's already started. And when asked for details, they never supplied them. Even worse, they never supplied reporting on the distillery side so that we could finish the taxes for the LLC for that same year. So, and to this day, they have not supplied it. So we had to close our taxes with our accountant understanding and putting a note that they never supplied the information. So that's in our tax filing for that year. Just for the LLC. Keep in mind, we're not filing taxes at this point. We've already revoked our status as a taxpayer and all that good stuff. So in any event, so now in September, we get this letter from their lawyer, and the first thing I do within 24 hours, I send a notice to the man named, we'll call him Joe Dirt, who sometimes acts as partner, principal, attorney for those of mankind, acting as board members.
Okay.
So you guys got that sentence? That makes sense. To the man.
Yeah. Break it down again, though, just for everybody.
Yep. So I sent a notice to the man, Joe Dirt, who at times acts as whatever his title that he hides behind. Okay.
Yep.
So at times acts as, and those of mankind making the false accusations. I set separate notices to those of mankind that acted as board members, and I called out each one of their names by name. The man who acts as board member or board manager. And then I proceeded with my notices. First of all, clarifying I am a man, who I am. So that's your statement of standing, by the way. So everybody talks about you got to do this, you know, whole standing thing and living man. No, as soon as you say I am a man, you've already taken care of that. You've cut through the corporate veil. You're not making a big deal about it, but you're clarifying standing. Then you reference what it is they sent, and you take verbatim, you take one of the sentences of accusation right out of their letter. Now, attorneys send letters. We send notices and correspondence.
Yeah, I like to send notices too. I'm big on my notices and demands.
Yep.
Shit.
Well,
Yeah.
and I don't demand, I command. A man commands.
Okay.
A demand is a kid sitting there going,
We
I
moving
demand
over?
my ice cream.
Okay, so
yeah,
we moving over from demand to what? Command? We're commanding shit
command.
now? Okay.
Mankind makes law. Yep.
All right, so no more demand, everybody. We are now commanding they do what we say. Do we got this right? Say it one. Wait, I want everybody. No more demands, right? We ain't demanding no more. We got this.
Well,
And
that's
if
kind of
I
vague.
ever come through and I say we're gonna hit them with a notice and demand, I want your ass to correct me. Cameron, you're wrong. It's command now. You hear me? Correct my ass. I don't want to hear it. Just tell me like it is.
Yep.
Cameron,
We
you're
don't
wrong.
request. We don't request. We require. We don't demand. We command.
Oh, we're no longer requesting either. We're required because it's your goddamn duty. Excuse me, but it's your duty. You got to do it. All right. Let's go, Kevin.
So, yep, no titles. You can say what you act as because it's all play. You can say what you act as, but you're a man first, a man or woman, you know, respectfully to everybody here. So what you do then is you send these in the private to them as a man. And you give them, because a man is the one that has to make this decision, not some title. A title doesn't make a decision. You can't put a title on the stand to testify as to how it did you harm. It's impossible. It's a fictitious entity. So you call out the man, and as a result, you're cutting through the corporate veil right out of the get-go. Now, in my particular case, and in Vicky's case, again, we were not named executives on the agreement. So it makes this a little easier. If we would have had an agency situation, which we did not, like an employment agreement or some sort of contract that specifically names us. And so that comes out of the 1938 Erie Railroad versus Tompkins ruling.
Yep.
And that's what changed the idea of person. Basically, you have to be named in the contract in order for you to have jurisdictional standing, especially if you're talking about a diversity situation, multiple states and or federal versus state, that sort of thing. Comes back to common law. There is no federal common law. It has to revert back to the common law of the state. So the state took advantage of that ruling and said, oh, good, we'll start naming men and women in contracts and giving them a title. And guess what? Now you have agency. Now it can be heard as a common law jurisdictional fake in the federal judiciary.
So that's kind of interesting because that ties back into it's all titles of nobility.
Correct. It's all titles of nobility.
Yeah.
So let me. That's a fantastic segue, Cam. Such a good job. So, all right, I'm going to read something for everybody just to wrap your head around this.
Okay.
So I'm going to read you the definition of title from Black's Law Dictionary. So thank you for the title segue.
Yes, sir.
Black's Law Dictionary, 4th edition, title. The radical meaning of this word appears to be that of a mark, style, or designation, a distinctive appellation, the name by which anything is known. So now think of that and think about everything you're doing in all your court cases. You're giving yourself a title, be it defendant, be it plaintiff, be it whatever, claimant. Yep. Yeah. Exactly.
We got lots of different.
Those are all action things. They're all kind of a combination. The plaintiff. Well, that's an adverb verb combination. Back to the David Windmiller stuff. But it's actually just grammar. If you break it down, you actually start looking at these sentences. They get rid of the preposition. They put the or the a right with that action word term, and now, in grammatical sense, it actually becomes an adverb verb combination. Right. Or if you're describing something, it becomes an adjective pronoun. If you look at a legal document, they don't have a single freaking noun in there. It's all gibberish. But anyway, and if people ever want to learn how to do that, I have a whole document on that, and I can teach you how to do it. But it's cool. That's how I put the DA in default. That's a whole another thing. They were like, what the hell do I do with this? Anyway, so title, the radical meaning of this word to be that of a mark, style, or designation. Hey, so yep.
You have eligibility to share screen. You know that, right?
Oh, well, allow me to do that.
Yeah, bro. Come on now, man. I got it set out.
Wow. All right, hold on. Hold on.
I think I got to remove our spotlight, though. Just let me remove spotlight, and then I normally don't do this, but I thought it'd be cool. All right, and I think you can just share freely.
All right, let me go to share here and see if I can pick it. All right. Let me know if everybody can see that.
It's coming up. I don't see it yet. Oh, there we go.
All right, and I'm going to keep it in this mode because if I put it in actual presentation mode, it blanks out my Zoom. So
okay, and check it. I got questions later. We'll just kind of fill them in as they fill in. People, I've actually unmuted y'all. I'm going to be lenient today and allow y'all to unmute yourselves, but please don't run over each other, or I just have to close it back down. If you have some questions, maybe raise your hand and speak or something. I'm going to go pee real quick, but go on.
Yeah, and Robert's Rules of Order, say, may I speak? And that way, and then yield afterwards. It'll just make it easier. So not to give instructions, but just to help everybody out when you yield, then somebody else will know that they can ask a question. So ask for the floor and then yield. So title, the radical meaning of this word to be that of a mark, style, or appellation. And everybody can see that on the screen.
Yes,
and
sir.
if you need time to write that down, I'll give it a little bit here and let me know if everybody's good, and I'll move on.
If everyone checks the group chat, I took a screenshot of it and posted in the chat so we can.
Awesome. Okay, so then I'll go to the next one.
Hey, Kevin.
Yo.
Would you be willing to share these slides?
Oh, absolutely. This one happens to be out of claiming status and revoking taxes. It's a very detailed one. It references West Virginia code, but you can pull out the West Virginia code portions and plop in the code for your state. It's really easy to look up once you figure out how they work. But
that'd be awesome. Yeah, after this, if you send it to Cam and he can distribute or something, that'd be awesome. I appreciate you, man.
Yep, absolutely, Quinn. All right. The mark. Now, I'm going to get a little biblical for you here, guys, so bear with me. And I say that not from the standpoint that I believe in the Old Testament, so just take it for a grain of salt. There's a lot of very good words of wisdom in the Bible. We'll just put it that way. So the mark, taking on a title, and the act of taking on that title is in fact the mark of the beast. In other words, it's a hell of a lot simpler than what everybody thinks. You take on a title, you've marked yourself. You've diminished yourself to a status less than man. And I'm taking this right from the definition, so this is not like a leap of faith or anything, but we never think about it. We all want to blame somebody else for giving us the mark of the beast when we do it ourselves. So the mark being a person as a fictitious entity and as defined as taking on a name, or Shem as defined in the Hebrew translation of the same word. The title is a person, which is in turn a mark. You are a creation of the Creator who creates. You are one of mankind. You are a living soul. You are the seed of consciousness. You are not a title. So if I go back up to title again, notice, thus in the law of persons, this is right from the definition, thus in the law of persons, a title is an appellation of dignity or distinction. Basically, you're reducing yourself. It's a social rank. You're not a man or a woman anymore. That's why if you look at statutory law, anything that is not related to statutes at large, anything after the Civil War, they don't reference mankind in it. Now, you will see it in Supreme Court cases where they're protecting constitutional law, and that's the only place you'll see it is in cases. You won't see it in the statutes. So again, Mark is taking on a title. So let's go. Yeah.
That includes the titles of Sir, Mr., Ma'am.
Absolutely.
Especially those.
Yep.
We
Especially
all want
those.
to be respectful of everybody by what we've been taught as kids and people growing up in this world. And you accept those titles and you've got the mark of the beast.
Bingo. And thank you, Michael. That's exactly correct. And thank you for bringing that up, because Mr. British Merchant Marines, Mr. is a warrant officer in the British Merchant Marines. You do not want to use the title Mr. Sir is a knighthood title from Great Britain. Same thing, nobility. So to Michael's point, thank you very much. Great segue also. Any title, any title. You are a man and your reference is your name. You are not your name either. And I cover that in a lot of my articles on Shire News. But it's painful because you walk through it slowly. I created all these articles because it's such a mind change versus what you think about. And so it took a lot of articles to go through and explain it. But
another one, Kevin?
Yeah.
Another one is I am a living man on the land and soil.
Yeah,
You
but
should know that from the Anna von Reitz deep dive I'm sure you went in.
Yep.
Check this
so,
one out. Check this one. So like when you was talking about the aspect of that you're not even your name, that is so true. Because even like right now we're going through a paradigm shift of knowing in relation to like quantum physics and that aspect there of entanglement and particles. And as we're going through this transitional change of knowing, which I just shared recently within the WISEDOME, if anybody watched, I don't know if anybody watched it at all, but in that aspect, I'm reaching out to that dude because he's discovered some really amazing things, some fascinating things that are finally coming out. And I think it's because technology is just advancing so quickly that we're going to get to a point to know more about ourselves as we look inside. And as that continues to happen, we start to, again, really understand the I am, the aspect of the whole, the aspect of this personality that we currently have, in this soul aspect that just embodies all for all is I am. And so when you say, yeah, we don't have no names, that's true because we go beyond these titles, and it just fits so perfectly. I just love what you're saying right now. So yeah, continue.
That's perfect. Yep.
I have a
Energy and
question.
vibration.
I have a question for the floor.
Okay, keep it brief though, because he's going through. Actually, right now he's just going to go through his presentation. So continue, please, Chloe.
Yeah.
Okay.
Go ahead, Mitchell. Just real quick.
Okay. I've always said this. I've always says in the Bible it says stand as the man and not the person, and I'm asking if this is what this is talking about.
Yeah. So there's about 17 different passages that says God has no respect for persons. So that is specifically the case. So if you look here, that's the slide I'm currently on. There are two words for person in Hebrew. One is Nefesh and one is Shem. Now, guess what those two names are? Those are Noah's sons, but those are actually the Hebrew translations. Nefesh is considered the inner person, the breathing creature, per Strong's Concordance, and I gave the page reference there, the index reference. This is the spirit in the flesh. Now, it's not the soul, but it's the spirit in the flesh. The other word is Shem. It's the outer person, the name or face. Strong's Concordance, Shem is the reference to name or face. Now, guess what the definition of Shem is? An appellation as a mark, exactly like title in Black's Law Dictionary. You think that's a coincidence?
No, I don't think so.
So yes, Mitchell, that's what it's referring to.
Cool.
God has no respect for persons. So pertinent, valuable question based on the topic. Yep. Well done. Most people don't get this, and I try to explain it to people, and they kind of look at you blank because it's tough for people to understand when they're living in a world of titles.
And so you figured out a way to completely just rebut all the titles, or just put your command and notice out to where they respect it?
So you're rebutting the title immediately when you say I, a man, and then you address them also as a man. So here's the fundamental difference. A lot of people are trying to, quote unquote, stand on their law by going, I'm just a man. But they're skipping the remedy. They're skipping the ability to give them a chance to rebut. And they're skipping calling them out as a man of equal standing. So you are now just as, liable, because man has full liability. Man operates under full liability, as you do. So that's why all those other little pieces are missed. When you're just sitting there, you say, I'm a man, I'm a man, I'm a man. Well, you're still standing out here separately, kind of stomping your feet, and you're not doing the whole thing in honor and giving the accuser, who is also a man or of mankind, the opportunity to rebut. Not the title, but the man.
Okay.
So we'll get into that. When I start sharing some of the notices, you'll kind of see the breakdown. I'll do like a claim of debt notice and then a claim of trespass.
Okay. All
right.
Cool.
To answer that question, and then I'll go to one more slide, and then we'll jump off of that. But government is an artificial person. Hopefully, a lot of people have seen this one: Penn Hollow versus Doan's Administrators.
I ain't seen this one.
Inasmuch as every government is an artificial person, an abstraction, and a creature of the mind only, a government can interface only with other artificial persons. The imaginary, having neither actuality nor substance, is foreclosed from creating and attaining parity with the tangible. The legal manifestation of this is that no government, as well as any law, agency, aspect, court, etc., can concern itself with anything other than corporate artificial persons and the contracts between them. So they're telling you they can only interface with fictitious entities. They're telling you that's the case. So every time you go into their courts, guess what? You said, okay, I'll be a fictitious entity because that's all they can interface with. So when you look at Brandon's breakdown of the slaughterhouse cases, he's dead on where it says that a government can create a corporation at any time to interface with. Right. And that gets back to the birth certificate and everything else. So they're telling you, they've already told you, even in all the rulings and in the statutes, that's what they're doing.
That's what I be saying. It's right up under our noses all the time. We just gotta look and find the right ones.
Yep.
It's always right there. It's so funny. That's crazy, bro. Yeah, I've actually seen that one. I just didn't remember that it's Penn Hollow versus. Administration. Yeah.
So there's two of them. There's one that's on their statutory side, which is the other way. It's Doan's Administrators versus Penn Hollow. But this one that clarified the actual jurisdiction is Penn Hollow.
And it's good that it comes after 1791 as well. It's at 1795. So.
Yep. Yeah, it's all part of that same sequence. You know, those 2 decades after the Civil War. So.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm gonna stop sharing for the moment.
Now, what you want to segue into? Anybody got any questions right there? That's a good question point. Anybody got any questions right now?
Yes, I do.
I got.
All right, y'all raise your hand real quick, and then we'll run through it. I'll call on each one. We'll do it like that this time, if y'all can. If the hand's on there. Okay, Jack's first. Come on, Jack.
Oh, hey. So I was wondering, given that last quote, with the corporate versus man thing, should we then just, like with regular traffic citations and whatnot, should we just submit a answer in a demur, or like how do we go about that?
So so you're asking a good question, and I'll rephrase it a little bit, a little different than how you asked the question to answer it properly, if that's okay. So what you want to do, the moment you get a citation. So, and I mean the moment. So let's just say you pulled away, right? You just now drove off, and you're headed to somewhere. And let's just hope that you have, if you don't have your computer, you got a piece of paper and a pen. You're immediately starting a notice to the man that pulled you over. So, and we can use all their special procedural terms and their Latin terms, but the reality is the notice is the same. And I did today, this morning also, I did a document specifically on that, that it means the same thing. So if you look at procedures like in Pennsylvania, West Virginia, Maryland, in their rebuttal procedures, they actually state notices as being the rebuttal. So they acknowledge in the verbiage in their actual rules and procedures that you must notice, which is really funny because attorneys like to ignore that term, because it's the term that gets them stuck, because putting somebody on notice means they must rebut or it stands. So I saw today, a lot of people are talking about a corpus nonum notice, and they're all notices. So the bottom line is, whatever you do, always make sure you put notice, and you can specify what type, but always put notice on any of your rebuts.
Legit.
And that always, never miss that word.
I like that.
Because they must rebut it then. And like I said, it's in their procedures. So I don't know if now is the right time or not, but you tell me. This is kind of fluid. So should I pull up the citation rebuttal that I did for my wife's?
Yeah,
Walkthrough?
that'd be cool. Yeah, that'd be cool. And while you're doing that, let Mitch and Laser ask a question too. Mitch, go ahead.
Okay. This regards the administrative courts for traffic.
Them ALJs. You talking about them highest of the clerk, those involved agents of the involved agency, those clerks of the. Yeah, what's up? What you got?
And so I keep saying that we should not, as if you're going to go in there staying as a man, you don't belong in their courts.
That's correct.
And the administrators have said this over and over. If you catch them, you can only go into those courts as a person. Because like you were just saying, what this document was talking about is a person can only interface with another person, and a man can only interface with a man, like a corporation can only interface with another corporation. And also in your documents, when you use the living man, you use a lowercase I, because the lowercase I represents, the dot represents the head, and the straight line represents the body.
Mitch, you know what's crazy? Mitch be actually holding out on stuff on purpose. And then when someone comes in and got some info, then he be pulling it all out of the briefcase. That's Mitch right now. That's what Mitch be doing. I'm noticing what Mitch be doing. Like, Mitch has been here since the beginning, except now I'm starting to understand what Mitch be doing. That's pretty cool, Mitch. I like how you just did that on us. It's pretty slick.
All right.
So you got templates.
So,
man, drop this in the chat, man. Drop this in the chat, man.
Can I actually put the whole thing in the chat?
Yeah, just you just drag it on in there, wherever the file is. I'm gonna throw that in really for everybody real quick.
yeah, we're gonna turn that into a latex document.
And I have escalation, so I have notice 1, notice 2, notice 3, because you want to escalate and do it. Typically, you want to do it within 7 to 10 days. After the first one, you do the second one.
Oh, you hitting the real administrative process here.
That is correct. So that's what I kept trying to say is what Joe was explaining is dead frickin' on, but this is how you do it within their process, and you're calling it out. You're automatically changing the jurisdiction.
Okay, check this. Okay, Kevin, I do this, but I do it in relation to my notice of liability.
Right. Well, and you can send a copy of your mandatory notice. You can send all that stuff with that as a included document, but you want to call out the actual opportunity for remedy. You want to call out your standing, and you actually want to see if they can rebut anything that you give them right
Okay.
away.
Okay, Kevin.
And then you include those other things.
I got to come back with you. Okay, so I've actually done this for one of my lawsuits or complaints I'm about to bring forth, claim, which is for Ridgefield, because they ended up calling my client to try and get me in trouble when I did nothing wrong. But I had already gone up with the chief and filed a notice of liability, and he accepted it. And then when they violated, I did the administrative process where I did the violation, the opportunity to cure, and then the default, right? And then also went and filed a claim with the insurance to get that process going. Once I hit for the insurance, they fired the sergeant, like they terminated him. So, but I haven't brought forth the claim yet. I gave him a last opportunity to respond in October of last year. It was like, hey, I'm going to sue. But here in Washington, we got 3 years. So it's like I'm just kind of chilling. But yeah.
So I did kind of the same thing.
Okay.
It's probably a little more detailed than what you did, but but there was a lot more involved, as I explained in my case. There's a lot of nuance with that. There's everything from UCC code, SEC code. There's the bonding issue, and I'll get into those details because everybody will find it fascinating. And then I'll go into descriptions where I have documents explaining those things, like the bonding one you saw yesterday, Cam.
Okay.
I have one for the article court. So what Mitchell was just talking about. After we go through this notice, I'll pull that up. And we'll go through the different court structures so everybody can wrap their head around it, because it's hard on the surface to understand how you're calling a common law court. Nobody gets it right because they wait till they're in court and they think they're going to call a common law court. Well, unless you declare ex parte Milligan right there and you demand through that method, which nobody does that either, you're kind of stuck because you already gave into their jurisdiction. So now you have to get them to rebut stuff in court versus at court, which is different. In court is within their jurisdiction. At court is at a place. But in any event, unless you're prepped everything and have the evidence already established, once you're already at court and you're trying to do it, you haven't developed the evidence trail, just like Joe said.
Okay. People are being like, drop that doc in the chat. They on my ass now with it. You better drop that shit.
Give me a second. All right, hold on.
In addition to that, Kevin, will you be able to share that PowerPoint exported as a PDF for the group?
Sure. Yeah, the PDF will be huge, but yes, I'll export it.
Well, I don't know if everybody's going to have PowerPoint. I know I don't.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and we'll all work together on best way to get some of these documents out. But yeah, I have that.
Discord, bro. We be popping off in the Discord.
Yeah, we'll start doing it in the document section. We might.
Well, look, no, I can do it like this. I can just make another section for your specific method. We'll just title your method and we'll put it in there because we got like private DOT stuff and the trust game. So we'll just throw it in its own category.
Okay. Well, yeah. Because I cover all those topics. I have the DOT. Like if you go to my Shire News article, I cover exactly how to do that step by step from your passport, revoking your license, all that stuff in detail, step by step, all the way down to getting your DOT number and
straight up
MCO and all the stuff.
Well, let me ask you this. You got like a Google Drive, because when Eddie Craig came through, he just dropped us a whole Google Drive of all of his shit. Do you do Google Drive or how you do it?
Yeah, I'll probably do a Dropbox.
Okay, Dropbox, okay.
Yeah, I'll open up a new Dropbox and start doing it since this is going to be valuable for a lot of people. So,
yeah. Oh, okay. Substack. Yeah, pop that off.
Yep. So tell you what, I'm gonna mail Joe. Do you have this copy, don't you? Or no, you have the one with her names on it. I'm gonna mail this to you real quick, and then that way you can drop it in. Because with my shared screens, I have 3 monitors up, but it's still.
I got you, man.
Yo, and y'all get over there and click on that Shire News Substack. Y'all go hit that. Yeah, y'all go hit that.
And by the way, if anybody finds any errors in them, let me know because I edit all the time. Also, I have found that they started dropping off my links to stuff that for proof. I find alternates, but let me know if any of the links don't work also, please.
Okay.
In any of the comments on Shire News so I can go fix it.
Go ahead. Put you as a bookmark right now. What's up?
So yeah, Joe, let me send this to you real quick.
Kevin the Closer. I'm titling my bookmark for your website, Kevin the Closer. What? I love it. Okay, sorry.
All right. It'll be called citation boilerplate.
Okay.
Because this one already has it cleaned up.
Hold on too. And Laser, you had a question. Come on up, Papa. I know you had a question. Where you go?
I was actually just gonna ask about. It was kind of getting covered. I don't want to stop the flow, but I just wanted to know if and he actually already answered it, because using that document is how you get the courts into common law. And because to me, I always thought common law. I hear people talking about it, I didn't really understand how to actually access common law, but it looks like we're figuring that out right now.
Straight up.
Yep. Yeah. So this is, man, I got so much stuff here. Hold on. Yeah, it's how you start your notices right out of the gate and calling out a man as you're standing as a man. It's not something that happens at court. That just is a
okay. You
that
do
is
the
just a
paperwork beforehand.
yep, and then that's just a benefit once you've already established standing.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, what are we going into? My bad. Anybody
All
else
right,
have any
so
questions? Because I was about to say.
yeah, I'm getting this for the group, so I'm gonna send it over to Joe so he can drop it in.
Okay.
Thank you. We appreciate it.
Oh no, you're absolutely quite welcome.
So you've been talking about also this bond game. A lot of people want to know about them bonds too.
Yep,
That
we'll
they
get
keep
into
saying
that.
the bonds and we're gonna do liens, and I'm just like, bro, beat this shit out. I be going the administrative. I mean, not the administrative process. I be going through the steps, bro. I be arguing the shit out their ass. You know, I want to put them on their ass. You want to talk about you're so good. You went to school for all this time to learn all this shit. Now I'm knowing who I am. Let me show you what's up, right? So yeah, I guess what is a single moment or encounter first convinced you that the court as commerce model was real and that you had to learn the bond game? I want to ask you that.
So it hit me when, in this particular case, in my case,
The distillery?
so yep, for the distillery.
Yeah.
So I had been doing the private notices to these guys before they filed a claim.
Okay.
They did not rebut a single notice in the private. So they're already in dishonor. Now, keep in mind, now you're in it. This is tacit acquiescence in common law. They are standing in dishonor and in fraud because they haven't answered a single one within 21 days. I did a series of 7 notices to them, 3 also to each of the lawyers holding them in trespass. I then put the whole group in default in the private for lack of notice. So the procedure is the same if it's private or if it's public. But what you've done is you've created all the evidence now unrebutted. It stands as fact and true in law. So now that becomes evidence you can do when you become the holder in due course of your own claim due to their dishonor and estoppel being in default. And now you can file that claim based on the location of trespass. So in my case, they didn't even file their case in Pennsylvania till after I had moved to West Virginia. And one of their things that they did was they couldn't get me because they kept putting my all caps name, my wife's all caps name, and the all caps name of the business.
Right.
Well, I knew that was all BS. I knew that the all caps name was already BS. So when I sent it back to the court, I just rebutted the paperwork. I rebutted the summonses that the sheriff had. I rebutted all those stuff. I marked them all up in red with a breakdown that the grammar didn't make any sense,
Right.
that they were titles. Actually, let me bring one of those up here real quick. But I put the DA in default and he never rebutted it, and the clerk upheld it. Then what they did was they changed the names on the next filing like 8 months later from the attorney, and all he could come up with was, my stuff's been debunked, so you need to overrule it. And he changed the names. He took mine and my wife's name off in all caps and left just the business name.
Ooh.
That's a change of a security midstream. And in the meantime, I had been studying the SEC and how the court works, and that the whole thing is a bond and a security. And I just started studying that separate. And this was before I even ran across Brandon's stuff. So I asked the question in my notice to the attorney in New Jersey, New York, who has a license in Pennsylvania. Are you changing into security midstream without notice? And because
they
this
say?
would be a security violation. He
What'd
didn't
they say?
respond to it at all.
Oh no. Tacit acceptance,
Tacit acquiescence.
acquiescence. Let's go get him. Oh, I like that. That's cool. Yeah, that's cool. I like that.
Yeah, so I had just happened to have read enough and understood the concept. So I'm like, well, I'm going to ask him because it's a notice. So he must rebut a notice. He
Right.
can't just send a request for judgment to the court and not respond to my notice. He can't do that. It's fraud.
Okay.
So, you know, it's their own rules and they don't follow them.
Yeah.
So, all right. So let me get that example here real quick.
I just dropped the file in the Zoom meeting. I'm going to put that in the Discord as well.
Okay.
Excellent. Oh, tell you what, go to my Shire News Substack. That'll be a lot easier. I have one that is an example where I break down a court case that has to do with COVID. This is one of the things that Sasha Latapova had posted for one of their court cases. And, you know, there's a lot of people doing good stuff out there, but they're all playing in the statutory system and they just totally don't understand that they're not going to get anywhere because it's their rules. And
well, shit, we've been getting somewhere. You got shit fucked up now. We're getting somewhere. We've been getting dismissals. People been coming through, getting their knowledge up. Like we got quite a few of them going in default right now. We're getting recusals. We got judges on the record retracing their steps when they come through and they start being prejudiced and biased. I mean, we got all kinds of shit popping off, man. It's really cool and fascinating, but this is also really cool and fascinating because if we start getting this down and implementing this, it's like, oh man, you know, dead in the water in every single way. So this is pretty cool right now. I'm pretty fascinated.
Yep. So let's read through this one real quick, just so everybody understands. There's a lot of content here, but it's important to wrap your head around, and maybe people can ask some questions about it.
Okay.
That sound okay?
Yeah, perfect.
All right. So a little background. We were in Pennsylvania visiting our daughter. She had moved to Danville, PA, and we were going up to visit. And we pulled into this one town. It's called Sunbury. And we had plates in the car, but we didn't have the registration up to date. My wife's license had been expired. We lived in West Virginia, so we were like, it doesn't matter. And we pull in, just as we pull into a parking space there in town, because we're going to meet her for dinner. Cop comes around the corner with his lights on, pulls up, right? Parks behind our truck. He gets out, comes up to my side window, and I put it down. And the first question I asked, I said, well, hello, officer, is there a crime? And he just kind of stuttered, and well, it's about registration. I went, oh, okay.
Yeah.
And it kind of went from there, and he asked for license and registration. My wife gave the expired one because it's complete. It's a non-contract at that point, so we can't do anything about that. And I said, yeah, can't find the registration in the car. Sorry, which is true. I didn't give him anything, but it wasn't in there. So, and I just was pleasant to the guy. He went back, got a citation, came back up. He goes, hey, this is the citation. You got to pay it within 10 days or you have to set a court date. He goes, you know, you just have to have a registration. I went, oh, really? Okay. Well, you have a nice day and we're going to go visit our daughter. And that was it. We just kind of, we were done because I don't want controversy. He created controversy. I'm not going to escalate controversy. That's the last thing I'm going to do. Right. But he's already created trespass the moment he came up behind us, even though we were already parked. He came up behind us. So the detainments versus custodial arrest was in question only from the standpoint we had parked already and then he pulled up behind us. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't have the benefit of like the one yesterday where they pulled me over because I was already parked going to go somewhere.
Right.
But instead I went after the exact information and I am now giving them notice that they must rebut right away. So this was sent in like 2 days.
Okay.
So in regard to the paper with the sign, traffic citation. With
Zoom it in, Kevin.
You bet. All right. Let me see here. Let me know.
My boy said bet. Kevin's so cool. Y'all hear that? My boy said bet. Kevin, cool. Damn.
So, also notice up on the top right is the reference address, care of Postal Service without USDC, and it is on the right. We are on the right hand of the creator. Always put your
Yeah, I need
Always
to
put
fix
your shit on the right.
on the
Do
right.
not
And I need to fix the overleaf version to host it like that.
do
So.
not put your autograph stuff and or your reference mailing information on the left. You are at the right hand of the creator. You are in charge.
Oh, watch out.
So anyway, so then you also notice here, actually, right, I'll just start at the beginning. So
Okay.
to the man, whatever their name is, who sometimes or at times acts as magisterial district judge. So notice I'm putting it right to the judge.
Yeah.
I'm calling out, and it's actually a woman, but anyway, um, um, in this particular case, but
Yeah.
and then care of. So it's just a place to send it based on their information. They say, yeah, I'll get stuff here. That's where you send it, but you always do care of.
Okay.
So, and the reason being is you're not admitting to any jurisdiction. All these little details are steps to not admit to their jurisdiction.
Okay.
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 All right. And notice also the zip code. I have it always in brackets. So in this case, the brackets stay. I probably should have put double brackets there. The other ones you remove the brackets, but for the zip code, zip exempt, but near zip, and you can put that in, but you keep it in brackets. Now, one of the things that some of the others do is they put a CF in the front and the back, constructive fraud, but I don't bother with that. When you put something in brackets, it is a reference.
Okay.
So again, another jurisdictional item.
Four corners rule.
Yep, four corners rule. Bingo. And that's why whenever you are doing paperwork right now, when you're doing the blocks with the lines, four corners rule, you're talking about 20 different things at the same time. What are you really talking about? So their court documents are set up that way on purpose. I don't use that.
Okay.
So anyway, so in regard to the paper with the sign, traffic citation, in response to your communication, which you did state, operated vehicle with registration expired. And then it's either a man or a woman, upper and lowercase name. Now what I do is I do my first name dash middle name and then colon and my family name because it distinguishes it. And this is an important thing relative to punctuation. If you notice in this notice, see how every paragraph and every sentence ends with a semicolon. It's because it's a continuous thought. You haven't ended the discussion yet.
Okay.
So, all right. So I ask, are you looking for the man or woman known as upper lowercase name who does own property that is in an automobile design? As I understand it, you are looking for the entity, the all caps name, in all capital letters on this paperwork, and the entity owner and the entity defendant on this paperwork. As I understand it, you're also referencing a vehicle. I ask, now this is where they must rebut. I am asking them something to rebut. I ask, are you looking for the man or woman known as, with the upper lowercase name, first and foremost? I state all sovereign birthrights are expressly claimed and retained by I. I am always the lowercase I, just like Mitchell was talking about.
Yeah.
I state. Now, state is a fact. This is evidence. I state. I send the compliments of I in response to the sign attached and returned to the magisterial district. So you're being polite, without, however, mistaking any aspect of this communication as an offer of contract, acceptance of contract, representation, commercial correspondence, any acceptance of legal representation, or action in rem.
Right.
See statements of facts below. So I'm already clearing up jurisdiction right here, and they would have to rebut it, but I'm making it a statement because it's a fact. I'm a man, so I've already said that. So it's none of these things.
Right.
So you're already setting the rules right out of the gate.
Okay.
So you're not waiting until court. You're not waiting to rebut anything else. He just gave me a citation, which, by the way, is securities fraud because he just created a security beside you, and then they're going to ask him to testify as to what happened, and he can't be a witness and also create a bonded security all at the same time. That's securities fraud.
Now, how I've always been hitting this too, or how I have been, is the affidavit aspect right off the front too. So you're just taking it on a different approach by hitting it with the more all caps, this fictional being corporate side, while I'm over here hitting it on the On the other side, being creator endowed rights, and this is already established as I'm free and a living being in a sense. So it's kind of similar, but you're going with notice. I'm going with affidavit.
Correct. Well,
And
so
it's
affidavits
almost
are
like we
statutory.
can. It's almost true, but it's almost like we're blending that too as well. You see what I'm
Correct.
saying?
So I'm pulling it all in together in one. So I'm requiring it would, for them, it would be an affidavit of rebuttal. A man does an affirmation. A man says what is true.
Right. Okay. Cool. Yeah.
They have truth, which is subjective, depending on how you're phrasing the term. If you're talking about somebody else's truth, then it's subjective because you don't know what their truth is, what is true. For you, it is always what is true. It is not truth because truth is subjective.
Right.
So you do affirmations, statutory things do affidavits.
Right. Okay. I like it.
So I send the compliments of I, and I made that clear. Then I state the court may, of course, appoint their attorney to represent the fictitious defendant, but in no case shall any such attorney, represent I, nor shall any claim against any such fictitious defendant attach to I, the estate of I, the assets of I, the credit of I, or any beneficial derivative belonging to I. So I'm cutting right through the whole secured party creditor thing too, because I'm saying it's all mine. It belongs to me. It's property.
Right.
Which is different. Property is something exclusive to I from all others in society.
Right.
I got a question here. Mitch got a question.
Go ahead.
Correct me if I'm wrong in thinking this way about this letter, but the way I see this is that you are communicating from one man to another man in
Bingo.
a common law way, not in
Yes.
a administrative way.
Right.
Yeah, I'm just not giving into that's exactly correct. I'm not giving into the statutory fiction. I'm saying, hey, I know you're a dude or a gal, and I'm going to talk to you like a dude or a gal because only you can make a decision. So I'm going to talk to you, and we're going to come to a meeting of the minds.
Correct. I just wanted to say that to let everybody else know to keep in mind that he's talking from a man to a man in a common law way.
You know, oh man, this is so cool because it's like you're saying, okay, well, it's like, yeah, I'm putting it on paper, and it's like, well, what do I say? It's like, and what do I do? I go and talk to them before I even go into court. I'm straight up already going and meeting them, shaking them hands, and having that conversation. And I feel like that's almost a form of common law because I'm speaking man to man about what we're doing with this situation that is separate. You see what I'm saying? So in that way, it's a common law form of fashion too, because it's like all I'm about is figuring out or having people figure out that you're the top anyways. So why not act in it? If you're going to be represented, allow yourself to be represented by an attorney. What are they going to do? They're not always going to go file paperwork. They're going to go talk to the goddamn district attorney, ADAs, and figure out what's going on and what they want to do. So I feel like that's a common law way as well. And what I feel like
it is.
Yeah,
you're correct. I think the mistake that a lot of us make, and it's really easy to get wrapped into it because I easily start thinking because of the pre-programming, well, maybe if I just did it their way, it would go smoother. And the reality is when I sit and I think about it, I sleep on it, I do a little bit of praying, meditate, and then it hits me, nope, I got to stay down the path because the moment I veer into their statutory paperwork, presumption prevails.
Yeah. Well, that's why you got to take control too of the situation. If you're taking control in a form and fashion of cooperation, especially when they know that there's no true body of crime, the corpus electi involved, they're more likely to work with you anyways. You just have to move yourself up from that argumentative standpoint of it's us versus them to it's us actually now against this fucker that violated my sacred liberties. So I'm with it.
You can't battle them at their own game. You won't win.
Well, that's not necessarily true because we are. But what I will say is it's easier if you move towards a form or direction of cooperation rather than
Right. It's just harder.
Yeah. So and to that idea, you're trying to remove controversy all the time. Your goal in honor is to remove controversy. Always, always, always. You want to propose remedy, remove controversy. So moving right along here, I believe licenses and registrations for mankind are voluntary. I asked, do you believe I am incorrect? Boom, I've just asked him now for a rebuttal, point-by-point rebuttal again. I say, please provide the law that makes you believe I, a woman, in the case of my wife, must pay fines for traveling in the property I own. I ask, is there a man or woman making a claim that I owe a debt? Because there's a number that, there's a value that's to be paid on that citation, right? So I'm asking, again, they must rebut. I say, now this is when you use the word say, that's a like saying I believe or I think, or it's you're making a statement about something without stating it as a fact. You're kind of opening it up for a discussion. I say I would like to fulfill this debt at this time. What is the total of said debt? So see, I'm leaving it open that it's not a fact, but I'd love to take care of it if there really is one. You follow? So then I say, if a debt does exist at this time, here's the remedy. I have $100 per month to pay said debt. Any more would cause I harm and others in the care of I harm. Is there anything else of value you will accept as remedy for a debt that you claim is true, you believe I owe it to you, and you believe is now post due? However, that said, if there is not a debt, any threats of taking the property of I will consider that a trespass by way of theft. Now, see, I've just put my command down and said, this is what is trespass.
Straight
Yep. If any property were to be taken out of the account of I or the compensation of wages of I would consider that trespass by way of theft and seek principal plus $1 a minute. The trespass continues.
Mm-hmm.
So now I'm setting my law. Okay.
Yep.
I ask, is there a man or woman who believes I am an artificial person, a creature of the mind only, having neither actuality or substance? So see, I'm quoting case law, Supreme Court case law, and I'm asking them to rebut it.
Right.
I ask, do you believe I am part of the state police corporation as written on the traffic citation and subject to their internal bylaws, operating agreement, rules, procedures, and policies? For reference, I gave them the Pennsylvania State Police, Dun and Bradstreet, and their actual link that they're a corporation.
And so what we would do is we would just come in and replace them with our own, right? We'd outsource that, find our own, put those same references in there that correlate or are the same, move forward. Yep.
Again, they have to rebut that. I'm asking them. Again, I'm asking the next one. I ask, do you believe a name can take the stand to testify as to how it caused harm to another of mankind?
I like it.
I state, I, a woman, am innocent of committing any crime. Innocence is a condition of man or a woman and can only be rendered as a verdict against one of mankind. I state the term guilty is a verdict rendered against a person, and the terms guilty and not guilty relate to debtors under benefits of a legal society. I state a plea deal is extortion and only legal as a defendant with a prosecutor and not lawful as a man or woman with rights. I state the man, whoever the police officer's name is, who at times acts as officer, because he goes home and he hangs that officer suit up and that officer ends up hanging in the closet when he gets home, so he's still a man. So that's why it's written this way. I state the man who at times acts as an officer did not confirm there was a crime. He simply stated it was about registration. I asked, was there a crime committed by I? I asked, was there a victim prior to the trespass of the time of I? So in other words, they were trespassing on my time, right? I ask who the victim is when seizure of persons and property exist without a crime. I ask, was harm caused by I to another of mankind? Notice, these are all things that I am forcing them to provide an affidavit of a rebuttal for each one of these questions.
Right.
So I state I was in a parking space on Market Street when the man, police officer's name, who at time acts as an officer for the private corporation, approached my property with emergency lights in use. I asked, was there an emergency at the location of the trespass of the time of I? I asked, do you believe I am a tenant, resident, person, or other fictitious entity? I say here and will verify at open court and will be true.
Okay.
I have a comment, Mitch.
Yep.
Hey, notice that he's saying trespass. Anytime the fictitious entities, administrative courts refer to doing wrong to a man or a woman, it's called a trespass and injury. Yeah.
Yep.
Always remember it's a trespass.
Yeah, it's a trespass. It's trespass and harm. That's what it is. And harm can be a trespass, whereas injury is what happens to fictitious entities or property.
Right.
Kevin, I got a question here.
Yeah. Hey, Steve.
You mentioned this stop was over a registration, right?
Yep. Yep.
Okay. Now, and you're talking about notices.
Yep.
What would be a pro or con to noticing the state and registering your property as private property? And the reason I ask that is the cop is assuming your car is supposed to be registered. If it's not registered by a state, it's violating their law. So if you register,
because he presumes that you're a person in their statutory construct, correct?
So if you create a notice defining who you are, and you're following somewhat of the state rule to have it registered, that would take that out of question. Wouldn't that stop the problem from starting in the beginning?
So the challenge is not all states have a private ownership registration option. I believe there actually are one or two, but there's not. It's not a standard thing. So that's why on my article on Substack, I go through the process of getting the DOT number, which some of the people part of WISEDOME understand that process to some extent. But if you do I'll call it registration for the DOT number through the FMCSA, Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration, you're, when filling it out correctly and putting it in a trust, whenever they pull that number up, it'll show that your automobile is in a trust, number one. And number two is that you do not qualify as commercial. It states right on it, private motor carrier, non-commercial, non-business, and you do not require insurance. It says it right on there. So to answer your question, yes, I am doing a type of registration, but my automobile itself is not tied to that registration. That registration is saying I do not operate commercially. I travel in a private motor carrier, non-commercial, non-business. This happens to be one of the ones in the trust that is on the registration. And so by default, it doesn't qualify.
Well, the reason I'm asking is Cam has been trying to do this traffic law reform stuff. And as you just stated, that most states don't allow for this private personal
within their statutes. That's right. And they get confused as to what an American is versus a statutory man. That's right.
So wouldn't this be a good thing to be part of Cam's traffic law reform?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. So that's why I'm asking what's the pros and cons of trying to get something like this done?
Well, and here's the key though, and you bring up a very good point. This gets back to words and terms again. Registration, by its definition, puts that ownership somewhere else. So you don't want to register. So part of the reform, if you want to have a verification, it shouldn't be tied to the VIN number. It shouldn't be tied. Now, insurance, that can be tied to the VIN because you want it to be covered, and they're just verifying that the auto that they're talking about is what the insurance covers. But in the case of plates, if you want to do private plates in a state, that's what the form should be. It should really have nothing to do with registration. It should be, you should be allowed to go in with verification that you're a private American who is a national of, say you're a Texan or you're Oregonian or whatever the hell.
Oregonian.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah,
Cam.
a state national.
Yep, a state national because you haven't been elected to office. You're only a citizen if you're elected to an office in that case. So you're a national of that state. You should be able to get a private plate through the DMV that confirms your standing. It shouldn't be registration. That's one of the key missed aspects of all this. So I did quote unquote registration through FMCSA for the trust, not for the property. Does that make sense?
For the trust, not the property. Yes.
Yeah. So the reform should be that you should be allowed to go in and get plates when you prove your standing and that you're recorded on the land and soil. I want a private plate. Oh, okay. So the plate gets scanned. They go, this is a private plate, dude. And it's not tied to the vehicle. It's just a private plate.
Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out what would be the easiest way to be able to go about of the hassle of cops just pulling you over because they feel like it, and they use every excuse they can, whether it's registered, you got a light out, you know, and then they want to do the interrogation and
interrogation.
Yeah, interrogation. And they want to find fault. They want to collect revenue. I mean, you know, like you said, having a plate on there, when they come up behind you, that plate is going to tell them to leave you to hell alone.
Yeah, I think that's the cleanest way for the reform is a private plate that confirms status but isn't tied to the property.
Shit, good luck with that. These fuckers never want to honor that shit.
Yeah,
I have another comment.
Start doing this stuff though. They're gonna have to do something.
Yeah.
But anyway, go ahead. Yep. Sorry, Mitchell.
Hey, you've used the word many times, statute, in this administrative type deal. We're talking the rules that apply to persons are statutes.
Yep.
I want everybody to realize that statutes are designed with the sovereign in mind. In other words, to exclude the sovereign, the man or the woman.
Yep. If you read my article, Steel on Steel, that's precisely the concept I cover. The law itself is not corrupt, besides the bonding process, by the way. The bonding process is 100% corrupt. But everything else, the courts are not corrupt. People are corrupt. They're using the system because of the bonding part. That's the corrupt part, because it creates a conflict of interest and lines their pockets. Their retirement funds are based on the bonding process. So, and I'll go through that in the bonding thing. It's freaking crazy. I gave it to my wife 2 days ago, and she blew a gasket because it was the first time she understood it in context. She was going, "We're sending notices right away. We're doing it tomorrow." I went, "Well, hold on." But the point being is that the system, to Mitchell's point, is not corrupt. It excludes the sovereign very specifically. That's what he said. You will not find man or woman in the statutes. It's not there. Because it's separate. So you always have a remedy, but you have to know where you stand first in order to exercise that remedy based on their presumption.
And that's an inner knowing. Go ahead, Alira.
I just wondered if you would give a quick explanation again on the why he uses the lowercase I, because it's driving my grammar nuts instead of me.
Yeah, it's there's two specific reasons for it. Mitchell already has a good grasp on it, but all right. So the uppercase I, number one, it's a Roman numeral. It can be used to depict a number. It is also decapitation. It does not have a head on it. So capital punishment. Whereas the lowercase I still has the head on it, and we are at the right hand of the creator. We are the lowercase I am. So it's a multi-layered reason, but I hope that helps answer it.
Definitely, yes. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Hey, Russell, come on up, Papa Bear. Russell's the guy that was on our video yesterday, y'all. Russell Hess. This is him right here. The one I showed y'all this morning, the chat blew up for. What's up, Russell? Unmute yourself, bro. My boy. Come on up, Russ. Learn how to run technology. Damn, you ain't that old. You know how to raise your hand, but you don't know how to unmute. There you go.
Are y'all there?
Yeah, we can hear you.
What's up, y'all doing?
Doing good.
Great.
So y'all critiqued my video. How was it? How terrible was I?
It was bad. It was just the worst situation we've ever seen. I mean, there's so many people that's done. Yeah, we've seen so many people do so much better than you. It's just ridiculous. But,
well, send me their names and numbers.
Go on ahead. What you got real quick before we keep going?
How did it turn out?
Haircut.
Yeah, I couldn't watch it over 3 or 4 times.
I think he froze up.
Oh yeah, he froze up. That boy ain't moving.
And
oh no, you ain't moving. You need to find you a better spot, buddy. You ain't moving at all right now. You stuck.
Well, we're down here on the river.
Okay, watch out now. At least you joined yourself.
Can y'all hear me?
A little bit. What's up, everybody? How y'all doing?
I'll say hi. Well, so what, all you guys, all you professionals, what'd y'all think about my video? How terrible was it?
I loved it.
It was great.
I thought it was good.
It was good.
And we ain't even done. That's just part one.
Yeah,
Yeah, what happened?
Cam held us off for watching the whole thing.
You got cut back.
It was so bad.
He gave us the teaser.
It was so bad. I had to
Cameron's
watch
keeping
it a
y'all in
couple
suspense.
times.
Absolutely brilliant.
Watched it a couple times.
No, you held your own. You
Yeah,
did great.
and I think what's really great about what you did is right off the bat, you already knew what's up. As soon as some lights come on, that's custodial, baby. So if I'm custodial, am I free to leave? We've established, no, we're trying to bring dominance upon you now. And then straight into shit. Well, if I ain't free to leave, I ain't saying nothing. I'm going to reserve all rights. You know what I'm saying? And so that's what's kind of perfect about the whole situation. I mean, I did the same thing, Hood River. It's like, wait, what? You talking about what? Okay, I'm going to reserve all my rights. Let's just get this established right now so that you can break them. You know what I'm saying? And go ahead and read me my rights. And, you never got that out of them. So you can show it's blatantly known that they're intentionally not reading you your rights because they know then you have to shut the hell up. And that's what's beautiful is that they're intentionally, willingly, and knowingly operating in such a manner to, again, coerce you to do things you shouldn't be doing. So you didn't fold, and that's what I'm about to show everybody, and we think it's beautiful. So go ahead and take a moment to speak real quick, Pop.
Yeah, we've been checking. They had never filed anything. I don't think they will file anything. I think they know they screwed up. There's nothing filed. They've been filed at all as of yesterday.
Well, I mean, how long since you got pulled over, though?
It was Sunday.
Oh, a week ago?
Yep.
And maybe not. Maybe they watch it. I mean, that's happened to me, too, where I've had such an interaction, and then they had some, and then I actually show up on the court date, and they're like, hey, there ain't nothing in the system. Cop didn't submit that thing. So that's complete action to just start moving forward. Then it's like, whoop, let's drop the civil suit. So, yeah. Now, I do want to ask, Kevin, are you still doing civil suits in the normal fashion, or are you kind of switching it all up as well in relation to what you're doing?
I am doing 0 civil suits in their manner. I'm doing all common law civil equity suits.
Okay.
Proper civil equity.
Okay, well then let me ask you this. Have you already received a remedy for that in that aspect?
So this claim that I currently have I wrote up all the remedy in the actual court filing. At this point, so I served them based on the improper venue, and they not only did they not respond within the required time frame, the one guy who was responsible for all of the board members actually refused it completely with no reason, which is tacit acquiescence and dishonor. He put himself basically in estoppel by return to sender refused. In other words, if you have a reason to return to sender, like say no UCC contract trust, no territorial or a maritime jurisdiction, and you write that specifically on there, you reference the UCC code, you're at least returning it for cause and lack of jurisdiction. He returned it with just refused. Well, that's complete dishonor, and he has now created his own estoppel, and he has no stand. So I fully own, as holder in due course, the claim, and I submitted it in the local county court, and I've gone as far as correcting their own paperwork and resubmitted. Actually, as soon as I got back from Austin, I had been working on it while I was there. I hand wrote and then referenced the UCC code, of course, for handwritten, taking precedent, and crossed out complaint, crossed out plaintiff, crossed out defendant, and corrected it all to the right words and terms and I didn't accuse them of anything. I said, due to the automated system and not to be a representation of the intent or actions of any of the administrative public servants, et cetera, and submitted a correction to the record so that the presumption couldn't stand even by their automation. So I am the holder in due course, and I really can do whatever the hell I want with the claim at this point. When they don't respond to the court's notice, so everything was sent out that was pertinent to them via certified mail from the court now. So they have been served. All but one guy has been served now, and I have copies of all those from the court. They have 21 days, and I can set up a hearing with the judge, and I will reiterate everything that's in the claim. So I own it. He can only be a referee. And I'm also, the way I wrote up my case, and we can go through all the documents so people can understand it logically if you guys want. I mean, it just depends on how much time everybody wants to put in. But
yeah, I mean, we wanted to see remedy, because that's what we doing. We bringing forth complaints and we moving them forward. Like, I have mine's in default. You know what I'm saying? And they over here explaining themselves and got them not even answering complaints in time. And I mean, it's like, I'm about to push for a summary judgment.
Okay,
I mean,
so yeah, you're gonna want to see my stuff then, because my remedy, if they don't show up, it's judgment out of default. It's multi-million dollars per guy. We're talking $13 million.
Okay, now
guy.
I get it. I get what's like what could possibly happen, but I'm talking about what's really happening right now with like my case. Like, so like I got another 1.2, I got another one I'm gonna try and hit for like 360,000 again on their ass through Richfield. I got another one right now that's going into mediation, private manner, contract to contract, right, from business to business. Which that one I feel like is just cold cut, easy. But all the rest though they're in federal court. And so with that being said, there's really no dispute of the facts as they are, at least with Hood River. So it's an easy summary judgment. So
you're down to judgment now.
Yeah, I'm about to move into that for real. Like they're gonna ask.
I'm a couple weeks from that myself.
Now on the federal side or just on your method?
So the way and that's why I said I probably should show you. I have it written up, and I even have a memorandum of law in my filing that this is a claim of trespass and harm. However, here are all the UCC codes they violated. Here are all the statutory codes they violated. And prosecuting attorney, if you would like to submit this for criminal charges, here's everything for you.
Okay, so now you're directly speaking with the company and or the company's representation.
No, they're not having anybody speak to me. I'm talking about the prosecuting attorney in the county.
I know, but you're talking about if you're going through the process on you, who are you speaking with? Directly with the business and or its representation?
Oh no. You're missing it. I am talking to them, the man only. They must defend themselves. I called them out already from the get-go. I'll show you that. It'll make more sense when I walk through. You're going to have to kind of see the beginning steps. Okay. So this is for citation. So we're all talking about traffic here and stuff. It's all similar info, but you'll see. I'll have to back up and show it to you because I am filing an actual claim of trespass.
Okay.
And I'm calling out the man. If the attorney, and I probably should bring that up too, because this has to do with that Title 28 judiciary procedure that, was that video this morning.
Okay.
If an attorney who has a oath to the bar and is an agent of the court, the moment he's in there and I am bringing a trespass claim, he is trespassing on the case immediately because he has a monetary interest in a bond, which I will not allow. So unless he's there as himself, as a man, he's trespassing on the case under common law. And it's right in Black's Law Dictionary, and it's defined very clearly.
Okay.
Trespass
I like that,
on the
Bill.
case.
Yeah, I like that, Bill. Yeah, that's a nice little bridge right there. Okay.
I'm gonna have to walk through all this, and
you are gonna have to walk through this.
I'm gonna have to. Damn, I'm gonna have to.
Like you got like I'm over here like really in this thing like with a docket and sharing they're over here filing declarations against my ass and begging the court, please, we made a mistake. It's like like I got lawyers really out here that are like
the lawyers are scared to talk to me now because I keep.
We ain't going nowhere. Start from the beginning.
Start from the beginning. Yeah, all right. Well, let's finish this one and then we'll go back.
Yeah, because he got lots of cool stuff though. He actually, is it okay if I share that document that
Oh, the bond one, the bond document.
well, you sent me. Hold on real quick.
Which one, or the words and terms, or what you thinking?
What am I?
Because I didn't share you the whole Article 1 through common law courts. That one everybody will be very interested in because it'll set a mental framework for the stuff we're talking about. But
Can I interject?
Yeah, please go ahead,
Kevin.
Yeah.
So the section title he was talking about was Title 28, Section 455.
Yep.
Self-executing non-waivable recusal for bias.
Yes. So if there's a bond created and the judge benefits from that, or if the police officer is within the same jurisdiction as the judge and the county or the state is bringing it, that judge automatically has a duty to recuse himself because it's an immediate conflict of interest. I have about a 15-page write-up on that. I loved that video this morning, so I went into a deep dive early this morning and cut that one up and got a 15-page walkthrough on that now. So
Kevin, wouldn't that technically mean every judge should recuse themselves, though?
Yep. Bingo.
That's what I was
Everybody's starting to get it now.
Yeah.
Okay, so I got a question. So by you filing and dealing directly with the man through this equity process, you're basically eliminating their ability to have their qualified immunity only stands in their official capacity.
That's right, in their statutory court. That's right, exactly. That's exactly right, Masano. Yep.
See, Cam, this is what I was talking about with my wanting to take this path with my suit.
Yeah, I'm gonna caution everybody. And my caution is you have to be precise. That's the hard part about this.
I don't know if you're familiar with, I was studying a lot of Billy Thornton stuff, and he's a big proponent of filing it through the equity process. And
yeah, true equity. Yeah, not their simulated equity.
Yeah,
because how can you have equity for a fictitious entity? That's just silly.
where claims, like you said, of trespass, of kidnapping come into play. All that
personage, barratry, peonage, all those, because they're making you a debtor, and guess what? They're making money off of your name. That's peonage. I mean, barratry, constantly sending you threats of litigation.
So it's the principal, the surety, and the obligee, right?
Come again?
So it's the principal, the surety, and the obligee is what's actually going to the court.
In the statutory system.
Gotcha. All right.
Yeah, in common law, which we all have access to if we bring it forward, it's man to man.
Okay, well, you got to get back to sharing what you were sharing then. We got to finish that bad boy. You didn't finish it.
Yeah. All right. So let's do this one, and then we'll go into my case, and I'll walk through some of the examples. And my only caution, and this is being recorded after we get through this one, it does have names in it. Please do not use the names in any negative or defamatory manner, because it is an ongoing open claim. Although they are in full estoppel, and I am the holder in due course, there really isn't anything left other than the facts. But still, just out of courtesy. When I bring those up, I didn't make them into boilerplates yet, which I probably should do given the obvious need. When you see them, please mentally ignore the names. That's my only request. Is that okay, everybody?
Yeah, that's fine.
No
I think
problem.
it's been pretty cool thus far within Operation WISEDOME, where everybody has been respecting each other. But for the purposes of if this gets uploaded to YouTube, I will cut out this section where names are disclosed.
Yeah.
So
perfect. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, closed out, whited out, whatever. Yep. Awesome. Thanks, man. So now I go into statement of facts. Now I went a little overboard on this citation response.
Got to reshare though. We can't see your screen.
Oh, did it come off?
Yeah.
Oh, bingo. Yeah. All right. Sorry, man.
No, you're good. That was actually me that pulled it down. So
okay. Yep.
Yeah.
Good. All right. Let me know when everybody can see again.
I can see it.
Okay.
Good to go.
So, all right. So notice here, I said, I say here and will verify at open court and will be true. I do not state under penalty of perjury. That is a statutory jail sentence. You do not want that. So I say it's stating what is true, and that I will stand and verify what is true. So that's what that's about. Statement of facts. So this is something that's a combination of what the American National Assemblies have come through and put together, but it's also a combination of stuff that I have done, and you'll start to understand, because of the way it's worded here, it's kind of worded more in common language, what these things mean, but they're statements of fact. So I have the only survivorship interest in the upper lowercase name. So again, I'm saying the name is mine, regardless of its form. So I have the only survivorship interest in the upper lowercase estate and any beneficial derivatives of the estate. Now, I'm not saying I'm the beneficiary. I say I have. So it's an action. I'm claiming something, and actually, that's the important word. Try to get in the habit of not saying you own stuff, but you claim things. We're stewards on this planet, in this universe, and we need to be stewards going forward. That's kind of where the trust idea comes from. But anyway, I am not a corporation, and I'm not representing any corporation. I object to the use of Federal Reserve notes. All usufructs using the name of I owe I safe passage and must hold I harmless. Now, does everybody know what a usufruct is?
Explain it.
No
Break it
idea.
down, Papa. Break it down.
All right, so I'm going to give you the exact. So bear with me here. I'm going to pull. I want to make sure I state it precisely. But the bottom.
The use of somebody else's property.
Yep, which would be in this case the name. So that's the bonding process. They're using your property, your name, as a way to make money or benefit off that name or property. So it's they have created what's called a usufruct. So they've attached themselves to your property and then make money off of that attachment. That's really what it is. So every time all the different derivatives of your name that they're using for bonding, for Social Security, for corporations, using your name to set off their debts, that's all a usufruct. Anybody have any questions about that one?
Well, we've gone into this a little bit on the depths of it. Here, I'm gonna share some just real quick.
Yep.
So let me see. I'll just do the whole desktop like that, and I might have to pause my music though. I think. Let me see. Pull this down. So if we're looking at this $14 quadrillion agricultural lien, right? We know that a lot of people done pulled themselves from this thing. This is what Avery be talking about, right? And we get on down into the Department of Defense, Homeland Security, Federal Reserve System. Then we got 14.3 quadrillion trust, ag, trustee, United States of America, ag, Department of Treasury, 1789.
Yeah, and that's the trust that the whole Trump group is making the big stink about right now. They're saying, "Oh, we got the trust. We'll give money to people."
But then you got over here, like when you look at all the attachments and amendments or addendums that's been filed to that actual filing in itself, you'll see that like
there you got the Unum Sanctum Trust, 1302. Yep. That's the Sesta Guve Trust, where in that papal bull from Pope Boniface, he actually uses the term human for the first time, which is what sets the stage for the baby deed.
Yeah. See, then we coming back into the testamentary trust as well.
Yep.
They got
it's
a whole
all real.
bunch. Look, then you got the revocation of the crown of Ball and the master trust. Okay. The revocation of the first crown land. Okay.
Notice it all goes back to the Vatican.
Mm-hmm. Then where we got some more down here. Here goes the other one.
Hey Cam, that goes into the proof of the Pope owning the corporation of the United States.
Revocation of the second crown of the common, even the crown of Aragon, and the crown of
Commonwealth. Commonwealth is a dead giveaway that it's Vatican owned.
Yes,
that's where Commonwealth started.
Second. I know they got a third on here. Yep. And then
Yeah,
they hit
what is this and where'd you get it?
Look at this one. And then then they got this last one right here, which is under the organization's name, 1537. Convocation. And then that bad boy hits another. This one goes for the crown of ecclesiastical C, not no SEA either. Sesta KV, and then the baptismal certificate of Church of Registrar of Titles.
Yep.
Yeah. They pulling out all of them. I think that's, yeah, with trust.
So who's doing this, by the way?
Man, this what we going through right now on the trust game series, bro. The 0%. What?
Well, no, but who's the guy that's
This is
pushing
an
it?
attachment. This is an attachment to the $14 quadrillion an addendum. They come through and they put all of their trust information and everything. Look, the trademark and licenses and all. Terms and
Yep.
conditions.
Okay.
See,
Where did you get that?
man, this is what I do. I research, bro. What you talking about?
Man,
What? I've been telling y'all. I've been showing y'all this. Look,
I haven't been.
what? Come on, man. $14 quadrillion on the public and the private side. What y'all talking about? Department of Defense, North American Water and Power Alliance, and then they got us. Look what they got us. This is the collateral. As all real men with hands and legs and real land in the United States of America with trust in God. This real estate is with the public. What? Man, y'all better get it right.
Yeah, it's all out.
What? But yeah. Come on now. All right, go back, Kevin. But I've been showing y'all this stuff. You can ask people around here if I ain't been showing y'all.
No, you probably
That's what-
have. I just haven't.
That's
been.
the trust game. That's what we doing in the trust game every Wednesday night. We getting ourselves set up to finally get there to pull ourselves up out their system like that because they got all these attachments overlaid on us. So when I saw him on his document talking about I'm not part of the British Crown, whatever, I'm like, man, there's a lot more things you can mention in there just beyond the British Crown. I'm not part of this trust, like what? You know, like.
Yep. So that's what Anna's been talking about for a while, and you're doing a good job actually bringing the evidence. She just talks about it and does a terrible job of providing the references. She knows what it is, but there needs to be more platforms like this one where people are actually sharing the actual information and references, not just having a conversation and holding the actual details to themselves and or having a conversation because they heard somebody talking about it.
Right. Well, see, the thing was with me is I saw the $14 quadrillion agricultural lien on Scribd, and I was like, man, I gotta verify this. Like, I'm a debunker. Like, I like to debunk shit, right? So what I was trying to do is actually,
that's how I got into this.
yeah, I'm trying to like call that shit out. Like, what? You a liar? And I found quite a few people. I've made them look pretty stupid and called them out. So, and I love people to. I invite people to make me look stupid so that I can improve. So please do that because my intentions are solid. I'm not out here to finagle people, misinformation. Everybody knows that. That's why we're open and transparent. And I think that's what's beautiful is that it's not one solid person at the top. It's all of us collectively working and making sure that everyone's taken care of at the best of our abilities. So with that being said, though, I couldn't find that document anywhere. And it took me a while to find it actually in its official form. And I had to go to the Maryland UCC. It's headquarters for that one. That's where it was filed. And that's where I was able to go into that filing into the Maryland UCC inside their own system and find all of the attachments and addendums. And I downloaded quite a few. So I have like, let's see, I'm looking at them right now. I have like 25 different filings that were attached to that. So we can run through all of them at some point, but yeah, I got them all. Okay, keep going, kid.
That's awesome. Yeah, so to your point, I am not a British territorial U.S. citizen. I am not a municipal citizen of the United States. I do not voluntarily operate in maritime commerce or admiralty jurisdiction. I am in fear for my life from commercial brigands. You know, that's how we started this country, was getting ourselves out of that BS. I do not, however, recognize any actual war being present, as no competent Congress has declared war since 1812. So in other words, the Civil War guys, there was never any declaration of war. You can go look it up. You can ask ChatGPT. You'll get confirmed. You can ask any AI. There was never a declaration of war for the Civil War. There was never a peace treaty. They were all just independent fort surrenders. It was in fact a mercenary conflict, and between two state organizations, and the naming convention of Civil War was actually done by the newspapers after the war was over, and that's how they coined it. So the newspapers were in on the disinformation and propaganda since 1860s. So yeah, crazy stuff. But in any event, so in the case of my wife, I am a woman and I claim proper political status as American state national / citizen, and I am owed good faith and service from all federal citizens and franchises. I have been misaddressed because they use the all caps name. I state I expressly claim and retain all sovereign birthrights. I hereby I am hereby issuing my express trust in writing to corporate officers or officers of the court. So what I'm saying is you are now my trustee and you must work on my behalf to do what is right. What I am not and what I object to. I am not a bar attorney, lawyer, any human person engaged in any title profession, and I owe no licensed or dependent obligation, no pledge, title, performance, or allegiance to any foreign incorporated entity, government, or organization, not limited to the Bar Association, the Roman Catholic Church, the British Territorial United States, the Municipal United States Government, or any franchise, incorporation, agency, or agent thereof. I present this notice as a woman who is misaddressed by those of mankind addressed in the notices by the way of the paperwork, not in any way to diminish the status of I to a Mr., Mrs., entity, party, member, individual, driver, licensed driver, person, resident, owner, principal, company, defendant, pro se, sovereign citizen, free man on the land, common law, free man, human person, human being, human, living beneficiary, trustee, executor, executor man, pro se, plaintiff, prosecutor, you, or any other fictitious entity, opinion, title, or mark. Hence why I always bring it up what's important to understand the definition of title. Any further attempt at said diminishment by you will be considered a trespass on I and those in the care of I. With that said, any use of copyrighted words of the Bar, International Bar Association, or American Bar Association are signs and foreign language used in a court of foreign jurisdiction.
Okay, real quick, Kevin. So you mentioned pro se in here. Now, how come you're mentioning pro se? Because a
I'm
lot
not
of us
that.
are going right.
Yeah, so I can act pro se for my vessels, but I am sui juris for I.
Okay, that's what I wanted you to call out here and just
Yep,
so that
yep.
everybody's aware of.
Yeah, notice sui juris is not in that list. That is the status of a man of himself. So he is his own man. You stand as a man, as a woman. You don't stand. So the whole term representation is stepping outside of yourself. So how can you step outside yourself? That you're still then, there is a fictitious entity relationship once you declare pro se. So if you act pro se on behalf of your vessels, then that you can do because you're making the distinction clear that you're claiming those vessels and you're acting on behalf of them. But for you, you're sui juris, standing as a man. Yep. No, good question. Very good question. Nobody stumped me yet. Wow, that's amazing. Half the time I feel like I'm the dumbest guy in the room, so feel free to stump me. Number 2, I am neither a U.S. citizen nor a municipal citizen of the United States. I adopt and hold no citizenship obligation or franchise agreement with respect to the District of Columbia, the district government, or the municipal United States or its government. So think about what Brandon says regarding the United States, District of Columbia, etc. It all ties together there. I am not a dependent of any district or agency personnel, United States persons, or municipal persons presumed to exist in the realm of legal fiction as foreign corporations operating under some form or permutation or variation of the given name of I, or some foreign sign language known variously as Dog Latin or American Sign Language appearing to represent the name of I. I am not a corporation, nor am I representing any corporation. I am not a public trust, nor am I representing any public trust. I hold the only survivorship interest in the upper lowercase name estate. I do not authorize the construction of any district or municipal corporation operating under the sign, the name of the defendant, all capital letters, in any form or under any section of municipal code, nor do I authorize the registration of any territorial person that may be using the good name of I under presumption of a public usufruct. I do not use the name, all caps name or upper lowercase name, or any ordering or permutation thereof in commerce or as a legal fiction under admiralty law. I do not need and have never needed any conferred citizenship and am not stateless and had never been stateless. I am not a colored person of any kind, not a slave, not a criminal, not a pauper, not a dependent or employee or citizen of any federal corporation known as the citizen of the United States, not a debtor in all caps, not a debtor upper lowercase, not an indentured servant, and not a bankrupt person of any kind. I do not accept or adopt any denigrated political status. That comes back to slaughterhouse cases and 14th Amendment. I am not a felon against the public law of I. I am not waiving my birthright estate in any form. I am not subject of any foreign infant descendant estate. So, in other words, it's making the statement that you're not the subject of, but you can own it, you can claim it, but you're not its subject. I am not the cargo aboard any foreign vessel. I am not the subject of and not subject to the 14th Amendment, known as a citizen of the United States, under any authority thought to still exist under the so-called corporate constitution of the United States of America Incorporated, first published in 1868, which was never ratified by the states of the Union of I. I am not an enemy of the British territorial United States nor the United States of America Incorporated. I am not a sovereign citizen, and I object to any inference or insinuation that I am ignorant or that I avow any oxymoron as a political status.
Wait a minute. You already know how I feel about that, though. So what we gonna say about that? Because I like to put him on point, bro.
Yeah, and I'd like to respectfully disagree.
I mean, I get what you're saying. I am the I am, but then it comes back into that American and that duty, and
Yeah,
showing
that one.
that sovereign citizens have the, have the highest status within our self-governing republic. I mean, that self-governance statement alone goes right back to the I am.
All the
Like
stuff
that is a
in that.
bold statement that correlates. You
Oh,
can't.
no.
You
I
cannot
have no
deny
problem.
that.
But
I
ain't that a
have.
title?
It is a title. Bingo.
Okay.
I avoid all titles.
But I
Bingo.
mean that.
That's
To
why
me,
when
I
you
feel
walk
like
around and ask that's why. No, it's a title. Well, here's the thing. I don't
it's a
disagree
very
with your.
good title, though. If you really put it in, it is though. Listen, and the reason I say that is because it implies to me the aspect of sovereign being free and the all recognition of that, and then you have a citizen, which is somewhat of a duty. So if it's like, to me, it's like an American duty. You're within a body of class of people who know that they are to self-govern, right? That self-governance recognizes the aspect of I am in free will. That's why I say it's deeper.
Your concept absolutely is spot on, 100%.
But
That,
you're assuming that title when
but the
you say that.
But
HGR.
it's so deep. It's
Well,
a
yeah, but
deep
you can
title.
go deep without title.
I know. I'm just saying, if someone was to call me that, and they're putting it on in their own derogatory manner, first off, that gives me ammo, and I'm gonna shoot with that.
Well, yeah, and actually, that's right. You bring up the exact point that I said to you was that's a catch-22 phrase for them, because you pull up that House Joint Resolution, it says citizen of the United States who is a resident. So they're in there. So that based on their own statutory rules and the definitions of their terms, they're talking about themselves. So they're shooting themselves in the foot, regardless if you take your position or you take what it actually states. Either way, they're screwed. So I don't mind your
tactic. It's just a tactic.
Yeah, it's a tactic. Yes. Yep.
It's like I'm gonna leave something out there for you to really, like you say, shoot yourself in the foot. And when we do that, we're already seeing. I mean, if Sarah's in here, she'll speak. We just got one, right? We just got one.
A sovereign is a slave to no one, so you can't be a citizen and a sovereign. And I think that's where the divide
that's the
is.
challenge. Yeah, that is the challenge. And
But too, you got to remember in the context of when it was actually brought forth, the statement. See, we get confused on the aspect of what time period, right?
How it was 1940. It was 1940. Was after citizen of the United States was already defined and resident was already defined. Residency was defined in the Act of 1790, 1789, and residency had to do with working for the federal government and residing in a state. They are required to pay taxes. So if you look at that whole thing in context and with their words in the time frame you're talking about, it's already been decided.
Okay, but wait, there's one more. If you look at the very bottom of that bad boy, it actually states that the day for the citizen, I'm an American day, it promoted patriotic organizations.
Yeah, and they're trying to demonize the word patriotism.
I know today, that's what I'm saying. So it was really at that time period, it was more so of that I am the free person. Well, getaway person, excuse me. I am a man who is of free will and choice in all capacity. Right, I think at that time it was like, "Hoorah, let's do it." You dig what I'm talking about?
Oh, totally agree with that.
It's just been completely changed out. Now I do understand everything y'all saying, but I've come to really love that a little bit more due to that joint resolution in and of itself. I can't say anything.
So, yeah, you're bringing up a cool part about how the emotional importance and a belief structure, which I can't argue with you about at all. I just got to be really careful when I'm being precise about everything else of theirs. That's one more thing that I want to be careful of.
I'm not saying it's not wrong.
Common ground on this? Can we find common ground on this by saying I am sovereign rather than I am a sovereign?
Yeah, that's better. That is correct. That is actually the correct way to say it. Yep.
Citizen. Leave out citizen because citizen is one that's pointing to a public trust. We're not citizens at the common law.
Okay, but then again, though, do we not? Everything that we're doing here, right, is it's a duty. We're all being that true American citizen, though, if you really think about it.
We're claiming the rights of the Constitution, both constitutions, the state and federal. So we have to claim, as of one of we the people, that we are claiming a title by falling under the constitutions. Now, what I was wondering is, like, someone like Brandon Joe Williams, who is of his own nation, he's a citizen of his own nation, would he forego titles, or would he still claim that he's an ambassador or something because he's falling under his own constitution?
So
like, how does the title work here?
You have a really cool, yeah. Well, just let me say this one thing. You have a really cool, unique thing here because, again, if you're all powerful, you got to remember the line of authority: God, man, then everything else, right? If you understand that, you can have treaties, contracts with whoever you want, right? Your power to contract is unlimited. And actually, those contracts are more binding than anything else below it, right? Because contract law supersedes everything else. So go ahead, Kevin.
No, I have a fundamental challenge also with the constitutions, because the Constitution was an agreement between the Federation of States and the new Congress. And I could pull up the documents for the creation of the Constitution and the letters that George Washington wrote to himself. So the Constitution had nothing to do with we the people in the sense that you believe. Just like we're going over here, the use of capital letters, upper lowercase and everything had a meaning in Roman law when that was written.
Okay.
And
well, that means it's fraud. If you've got it to where it's on that aspect, that means we need to get a brief to show that what they project as we the people is not truly we the people.
I have a whole article on that as well. Yeah, I got that article on my Shire News also, where I break it down and I pull out the actual pieces of the Constitution, show that they even changed the stylization of George Washington's name to show that he was in different positions, one for the Continental Congress and one for the new Congress, and he was writing the letter to himself. And we the people was that new body politic, and it even says we have to establish this new organization in order to handle all these other things, treaties, military, etc. It's right in the letters that are the kind of preamble to them ratifying the Constitution for the United States of America. So we the people, and that is all capital letters, and it kills me. I go down the road, everybody has it on the back of their trucks and stuff, and I'm like, you don't want to be part of that group.
Why are we forgetting the Declaration of Independence?
That is the founding document. Bingo.
Yeah.
And that's the one that is our statute at large that declares us as having the unalienable rights. That's our compact. The Declaration of Independence is our compact. The federal Constitution is the federal compact between the states, organizations, and the federal government. And then the Bill of Rights is the you can't touch this agreement. It has its own preamble. It's the you can't touch this agreement to the federal government, saying you can't screw with this. So when Brandon's talking about the incorporation doctrine, all they're doing is saying, well, I'm going to pull this in now to benefit me as a federal employee, and I'm going to incorporate some of these Bill of Rights for how I defend me now.
Now you know what's happening next year, right?
What's next year?
Come on, man. Quit playing around.
Freedom.
You know what's going down next year, right?
250th anniversary.
Yes, the 250th anniversary. Sorry, yeah.
Now, see, the Declaration of Independence specifically states that the states were created to protect our life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness, which includes our property as well.
That's why I say it's all irreparable harm, huh?
That was for the Declaration of the People. They had to declare it to get that right.
Mitch has got a
It's kind of
comment.
like Declaration of Status.
Yeah, because then everything else is just presumptions and assumptions, right?
That's right.
Exactly.
That's right.
They're acquiescing. You got to rebut that shit, man. Straight up.
Yep.
Shouldn't
So yeah,
the
I have an
state-
article.
Shouldn't each individual state has more authority than the federal government, right? So the original states that formed the Constitution
The unincorporated states, that's correct.
Yeah, the unincorporated nations. If you're born in one of those unincorporated nations, then you have to agree to the constitution of that common document, right? So you can say, just because I'm born on this land doesn't mean I don't claim or the protections of the Constitution of New Hampshire or California.
Well,
So
we gotta
but
look
if you do
too.
claim those protections, those written down inalienable rights that every sovereign has, then you automatically are protected under the Declaration, right? It doesn't work top down; it works from state
Bottom up.
bottom up.
From the people.
Right.
And actually, that's one of the things that in the constitutions that it will guarantee a Republican form of government, not a republic, a Republican form of government, which is very, very different. If you look at the definition, it's actually stating that you can come forward as people and everybody's voice counts. But having a republic formalizes it and then makes it that fictitious entity. So that's why it's very specific that it states Republican form of government, and it's from the bottom up, to your point, Alex.
Mitch has got a comment. Okay, getting back to what we were talking about, the sovereign citizen. I'd like to always, what I do is I always keep in mind that first of all, the sovereign citizen, quote unquote, was termed by the FBI as a derogatory statement. Whereas if you actually look in proper documentation, sovereign is used by itself. There's never the word citizen is actually attached to it because it's an oxymoron. But keep in mind always in the way that common law, we want to stay in a common law frame of mind always, unless you want to be the fictitious entity and stand for the fictitious entity, is that we're always referred to as a man or a woman, and only take that stance and nothing else.
Jack has
I agree.
his hand up.
That's how I approach it.
I got a question. So back to the state basically retaining its sovereign power as its own nation. Have you guys experienced like the attorneys kind of exercising, claiming that right when it comes to comparing federal laws versus their, like in my case, I have the DA is trying to claim like the states retain the right to do X, Y, and Z, but they're conflating that there's a state by itself and then the state of state. Does that make sense?
Yeah, the easy way to rebut that, if you go into your state statutes, they define United States and states the exact same way that the federal statutes do. So I went into into Pennsylvania's, West Virginia's, and Maryland. They all define states and United States exactly the same as they do in federal statutory, which makes it a franchise. It's defining it as being part of the District of Columbia right in their statute. So to your point, Sonny, that's exactly correct. But you'd be encouraged to pull that out to show that they're operating under the District of Columbia. It's not a defense for you. It's showing what they're doing, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And I also, to also rebut that as well, I've found the EIN number for state of state, which directly puts them as a corporation under DC.
Yep.
Could I ask you a question? And this is just my own ignorance for not knowing this kind of information, but let's say like two kings, right? Two kings formed an alliance. Those kings are identified as sovereign, right? They have no one above them. I mean, maybe the church has something to say about it or something. But if two kings formed an alliance, would they be considered something like sovereign and having duties to that common agreement? Right.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
in
it
that
gets back to the
sense,
law of contracts.
Well, it's contract, yeah, contract
so when we're trying to define citizen, is citizen in a way saying you are sovereign and contracted?
No.
Mm-mm.
So
no, a citizen is subject to, and it's in the definition.
and yeah, I get the definition. Like so,
Right.
so I'm trying
But you
to
can
figure
act
out.
as a good citizen and you're making a very good point, and the distinction is very difficult because we as Americans want to be patriotic, and we feel we do and believe we do have a duty, and that's the point Cam's making, to be a good American. So in essence, be a good citizen. But for example, the difference being when you go home, you sit down at the dinner table or whatever, you're not a citizen in that moment. We have the intrinsic ability to separate ourselves from it when we're not exercising that duty actively. So it's the difference between acting as a good citizen or just being a citizen. Does that help?
Yes, and I get these words, right, have definitions that go way back beyond what's in Webster's or even like Black's Law or whatever, like the citizen equals city slave, like that's way back in the Roman, you know what I mean?
Roman, right?
Which I totally get that. So maybe sovereign citizen isn't what I'm trying to figure out, you know, for my own sake and hopefully for everybody's clarity in this whole shenanigans is how to solidly stand on your connection that the only thing exists between you and creator is there's nothing, right? There's nothing between you and creator. So you are sovereign with your inalienable rights from creator. And how do you then take responsibility for the agreement that you are making with the comment with the people, other people, right? That then either gives you the duty to abide by the law, right? And in the same, that's how you get remedy, right? Is you use that law that you agree to get remedy should someone trespass against you. So citizen isn't the word, but and I guess it is, you know, this whole thing just comes back to just identify a sovereign. Don't try to qualify it over anything. But I appreciate the whole conversation.
No, it's a great question because we tend to want to, and I do too, you know, that's why I'm here is I feel a responsibility to help others and share what I'll call it what I stumbled upon, and then was sharpened because I had controversy come up upon learning it so fast that I didn't even have time to think about it other than to apply it and learn and grow. I feel I have a duty based on what I learned to share it to help others because it's really hard when you walk down the street and nobody speaks even the same language you do anymore. And you're like, how do you get it through and not use terms like citizen and stuff? Alex, to your point, it's you have a duty, you have a responsibility, but at the same time, you're a sovereign man, a creation of the creator, a seat of consciousness who is here to experience and figure out what is possible. And how do you do all that while at the same time not get stuck in these clarifying, and the correct term like you used, Alex, is qualified titles, because qualification is a diminishment. So a qualified elector is the delegate that ends up going to the state and or to the federal government. That's how it's actually written in our all of our founding statutes at large paperwork. But
Kevin, would you say too though, like with everything that we're trying to do, we're trying to take our power back too by claiming things that they've kind of just taken away on that deeper principle anyways, right? It's like with me, you know, through the history aspect, I've really kind of reclaimed a lot of history that people have just not been able to find or know or comprehend. And in that aspect, it's really empowered me to understand where, first off, we truly are, which is such a blessing to be on this holy land of America. That's number one, man. But then the other aspect of what is true history, what is the aspect of what we already knew and what we have forgotten due to us allowing a figure to take some kind of authority over us all, right? So it's like we're always looking for some figure rather than just looking within ourselves. So yeah, I mean, it plays hand in hand. I think Alira and Doug had something to say. Do y'all want to, Alira, what's up? You come up first.
All right, I just wanted to add a fun little comment that I love to put out there. The word that everyone calls unalienable, proper pronunciation for it is unalienable, because they cannot put a lien upon our rights. They are unalienable rights.
Correct.
That's all I had.
I like it. Doug, what you got, Papa Bear?
Y'all were talking about contracts. Right. We can see the Constitution, like Carl Miller said. It's an ironclad contract enforceable in court of law pursuant to the statute of frauds. It doesn't apply to us. It applies to them.
Correct.
And
That's
in
why you'll
contract
see.
law.
Yep.
Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, no, you're bringing up a very good point, because you'll see later on how my claim is written up. Exactly what you're stating is I'm holding them accountable for what they're operating under, the Constitution, but that's for the benefit of the seeing how they're violating their own rules, but I'm enforcing remedy under common law. So, but anyway, I'm sorry, go ahead.
You're good. And in contract law, the contract is to be written most favorable analysis.
Wait, you broke up. You broke up. You broke up. Start over.
Oh, so the contract, the Constitution, is supposed to be prepared most favorably in the non-preparer or for the non-preparer. We didn't prepare it. That's our contract to government. So it's supposed to be favored in our favor.
I mean, mostly everything's supposed to. Especially when we start pulling forth those doctrines anyways. We start hearing for the rule of lenity, the whole act rule. I mean, all those bad boys say it must be in favor of the defendant anyways. You just got to invoke them bad boys. You got to know what is set forth before even their statutes are at play. Because it's like Alira said, they're unalienable. So if we already got that unalienable side, you should already know how to argue that side. Because you can't be forced into anything. Just because you don't know every single damn term that is theirs to enforce it doesn't mean you can't enforce it. Why not just study the doctrines and the maxims? All you literally got to do is type in, Google or anything. Give me a list of all the legal doctrines and maxims. Everything's got an AI now that's going to tell you it. And start studying them bad boys.
I got another comment.
Yeah.
What I've always been saying over and over once I've learned this is how to go from the statute administrative courts to the common law court.
Oh, well, he know about doing this. He know about doing this. That's what he be saying.
Yeah, right.
This process.
That's what I'm right, and that's what I'm talking about. And is the court is not the actual buildings. The court is the paperwork.
Correct.
And the way you go from an administrative court to a common law court is the word terminology that you use in addressing a common law versus a statute court.
Well,
that is correct.
Well, it has to be a district court because a district court is all three, but a federal court doesn't have.
Now wait a second. Okay. Now I know y'all are wanting to get there. Okay. And if y'all want to get there, y'all can. But this is not going to be for YouTube. So if you're telling me that you're wanting to get deeper into those aspects, this is an Operation WISEDOME thing, and we might just have to tell YouTube goodbye. Is that what we're doing? Is that what we're doing?
I'm down for that.
I don't think so. I think that what we need to do is this WISEDOME helps us get the word out to everybody else because we need a much larger movement.
Yeah, but we can't go past 3 hours, and this is going to push us past 3 hours. So we either end it now as far as the recording for YouTube.
Just for YouTube.
Yeah, just for YouTube.
I understand that, yes, completely.
Yes. Okay.
By YouTube.
Okay, so everybody, I'm just letting y'all know right now. If you want to, let me see real quick. We get, no, that's not what I wanted to do. YouTube. Again, if you're wanting to get into these conversations that are more deeper beyond just what we have here, you got to get up in the Operation WISEDOME. You got to get up in the Discord. You got to come through. That's just how it goes. So everybody, why don't y'all unmute and say bye to YouTube for now. Wait, before we do that, I want everybody to remember that I am you and we are us, and we are all a part of the great I am.
Amen.
Okay, and this is Operation WISEDOME. So everybody, y'all say goodbye to everybody on YouTube. You dig?
Bye, YouTube.
Bye, YouTube.
Adios.
We're gonna
Links
miss
in
you.
the description.
Bye, YouTube.
Come join us next time, baby.